This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve this morning, where it's now drizzling, cloudy day, which is also beautiful for such a big animal to be able to get around, move, which is the elephant we got right in front of us. And welcome aboard to your very own Safari Live this morning. Good morning again. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. As we can see right in front of us, we've got a huge bull elephant. And my name is Andrew on camera. I have Johan this morning. And it looks like this is how we're going to be operating this morning with a beautiful weather like this, where we are sitting on a temperature of 21 degrees, 70 Fahrenheit. I know, maybe it's going to be like this the whole day. That is the actually report from the weather. But for such an elephant, like this individual bull that we got right here on quarantine, it's actually very good. He actually isolates himself for now. Maybe he found the other herd around nearby him. But this is how they do. They always move as a bunch of group or a lone male sometimes. So we're coming to you live this morning from this position. So remember to talk to us on Kids Questions at WildEarth.tv. Also on hashtag WildEarth, also at FC, as well as WildEarth.tv and /Explorer. Those of you who haven't been there yet, you can able to log on to our website, sign up. That's how you're going to be interacting with us. Looks like this male, we heard a response from the other member. I think this is the direction of the side where he's going right now. I just heard a kind of like other elephants, the way distances, which this is actually a way of them to communicate, even though they're so far apart, where the weather still allows them to be able to carry on, move, also make any of a sound. And it's quietly still. Great morning. Some sound of animal can travel far still. And that's far different if it's a midday where a lot of birds, it's out there and so much of disturbed noises take places. And many of those animals, they don't really want to make sound because knowing for sure their sound cannot be heard far away. So I'm gonna carry on search. Hopefully we've got to locate more of these member of elephants. I'm gonna be linking you to DJ.
So we've got a new driver this morning. Welcome to Tswalu. And Licorice, our little pony, has decided that he wants to be the Safari Live driver this morning. Oh, no, Comanche's also decided that he also wants to be the driver. He's probably so close to me. So, welcome, I'm Deirdre, and this is Davy, and you're at Tswalu. And this is all of our horses. They, welcome. Here comes Lancelot. Hey, big boy. So this is old Lancelot, but Licorice, who wanted to climb in the driver's seat, he's actually got quite an interesting story. Licorice, probably about almost a year ago, he decided to roll in the paddock, and he rolled on top of a puff adder. The puff adder bit him 6 times, and Licorice is still standing today. So he got bitten on the lip, on the neck, on the face, and immediately his face swelled. He was struggling to breathe. We got the vet to give him some good, he was on some serious drugs, and within 4 days, Licorice, so, hey big boy. So Licorice, our little pony, the stable's mascot, was completely fine, which is quite interesting, but horses actually are what they would use to develop antivenom. I don't quite know the whole process, but they use the blood of the horses. The horses produce antivenom. But look at the size of that little pony in comparison to everybody else. And he did so well. I got that Jerry had a comment, but I didn't quite get what the comment was. Sherry, you love horses. Yes, we do too. We've got some nice little spotty ones. This, the black one that just walked past, Pirate. And, oh, there comes the, oh, yeah, Lex and everybody. So they were on an outride yesterday. So at the end of evening drive, they come back to the stables all on their own. And they're busy waiting for Rusty, who you'll remember from previous, when he comes to give them some food. So we're going to head across and get some serious animals now. We're going to send you to the hyenas.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to, well, a grey, drizzly morning here at Djuma. But all is not lost because I am sitting at the hyena den and we have hyenas. My name is Lauren. I do have Simon on camera. I'm pretty sure I heard horsies there. Was that correct? Horsies? Well, what a start to the morning for you all. Now, I think it's hard. It must be hard. Those are Hart's cubs, but it's very tricky to tell when a hyena is lying down. Oh, there's 2 cubs. You can see another body lying down there. And apart from this trio, the den is really, really quiet. There's no sign of anybody else. It's a perfect morning for the hyenas to be out, really. It's cool temperatures. The sun is not up. It's ideal. It's ideal for mummy and cub time. We've been really, really lucky with the hyena sightings recently. And as many of you know, we come here day after day. We start to drive ourselves mad, Trishala and I, when we're not able to find the hyenas. And that happens. But I think it's because it's cooler. Once the temperature starts to rise again and goes into peak summer temperatures, I really don't think we're going to see them in the morning, so we may as well make the most of it now. I think they'll just shift slightly, and by the time we get out on drive, they won't be around. Great news about Ntima, Ribbon's daughter. I really think she's pregnant. Could be wrong, it's very difficult to tell, so I am speculating, but there's very pronounced nipples. They are very obvious and they were not there before. So I really think there could be a chance of new additions joining the clan. Now, this would be Ntima's first litter as Ntima and as the matriarch's daughter, so it's very exciting. She's in a good position. Her cubs would have, the cubs that I'm speculating about, would have a much higher chance of survival now that Ribbon is the matriarch than if Ribbon was at the bottom. And look how grey and misty it is. It's not pleasant. So we need to keep an eye out for Ntima. I'm going to ask all my colleagues and surrounding people if they do see Ntima or they do see a hyena that looks like Ntima to report it, because I really, really want to follow her. She may, in fact, use Philemon's Den 1 or Philemon's Den 2 as her natal den. Now, it's very close. As many of you know, there's sort of these 3 dens are almost in a horizontal line next to one another. It's not far. And they normally bounce between dens. But it is possible that she'll use one of those dens. So we just need to keep our eye out for any signs of intima. It would be so wonderful seeing her be a mother for the first time. And that means, if she has cubs, the sort of top level on this proverbial ladder that we talk about is very strong. Ribbon, her boys, intima, and hopefully her pair. As you know, hyenas normally give birth to a twin litter. It's just not always successful. So that would make that sort of top tier, the highest rankers, very strong. Quite a team. Are you enjoying the rain? It looks like you are. Are we keeping you awake, Heart? I know that feeling. That was me last night, trying to read my book. Been reading the same page for about a week. Rich boy, the scientific name for spotted hyena is Crocuta crocuta. Crocuta, repeated twice, that's the Latin name. But that's for the spotted hyena. There's 4 different members in the Hyenidae family. Spotted, I think, are the most numerous and prevalent and easy to find. But you do have... Hello, guys. Good morning. Yes. The striped hyena is hyena. That one's easy. Hyena. Just like that. The brown hyena is Hyena brunei. Brunei for brown. And, okay, Lauren, you can do this. The aardwolf. Cristata is the second part. I think everyone's going to go inside now. The rain's getting heavy. Okay, everyone, I'm going to have to Google this. My brain is not functioning. Proteles, that's it. Google told me that, but I was right about the second part. Proteles cristata. That is the aardwolf. I hate it when you can't remember something and it's just on the tip of your tongue and it's just not coming. But that's the 4 names for all 4 species in the Hyenidae family. The 2 hungry horses here have just decided that the rain's too much. It is coming down quite heavy. I'm sure you can all hear it. Dune's nowhere to be seen. Ribbon's nowhere to be seen. So for those of you that are trying to learn the Djuma clan, I know that some of you are really trying to get stuck in and learn how to ID. I make mistakes all the time too. But really, when you think of the Djuma clan, it consists of 5 main adult females. And when I say adult, they're old enough to reproduce, they're sexually mature. And in order, you have Ribbon, then Intima, then Heart, who we're looking at right now, and then Corky and Dune. And I'm not sure about the order between those 2. I've got speculations that I could be wrong. So I'm going to sit here for just a little bit longer in the rain, but we're going to send you across to Eric, who has hyenas of his own.
And welcome to andBeyond in Ngala. We've got hyenas behaving quite differently to the ones that you might have seen at Djuma. They are moving around with quite an intention. That one in the front there, its ears are forward, and occasionally they stop and smelling, and they're walking straight into the wind. And so I'm thinking that they might have smelt something of interest. So my name is Eric, and behind camera is BK. And like I mentioned, we are in this area, we're watching these hyenas, and we've decided to come into this area because yesterday there was a lioness with 2 cubs that was seen in the riverbed, which is now off to the right of us. And so I'm thinking if they're looking suspicious and they're smelling around and behaving like this, then maybe they've been following the scent of those lions too. So we decided to sit and watch them. The last little straggler. This is the youngest one of the three. And it looks like it's just trotting to keep up. Megan, it sounds like you are also a fan of hyenas. That's really good to know. These ones, though, we don't really know too much about these ones, but it's still cool to watch them. And the thing that I notice most about them is the different colors that they have. That one on the very far right-hand side is very, very dark, and she's also the biggest one. And then the one in the middle, slightly lighter. The one on the left-hand side over there, the smallest one is the lightest, with that almost that cub fluff that they have. It's still such a nice, cool morning, and so they'll be happy to move. Oh, that one just got a fright. And just look at its tail. See, it's raised and it's on the ground like that. So that's often a sign of excitement. So it's on a scent of something. And that could be anything for all we know. It could be maybe where those lions could have urinated. Could even be other hyenas that they're trying to track down and find. There's actually another hyena coming quite quickly in, and its face, just trying to look through the binoculars. Oh, there's even another one coming. So now this is 5 hyenas. It's so interesting. I mean, because this area, if you just look, I mean, the grass is very, very short. Jane, that the lighter one is by far the prettier one of the 5 ones that we've been seeing. And I was just saying, I mean, because the grass is so short here, it's a really safe, well, not really safe, but it's one of the safer areas for impalas and wildebeest to bring their calves and lambs to rest for the night. And perhaps what these hyenas are doing is coming through this area to look for those vulnerable youngsters that they might take advantage of and try and hunt. And having 5 hyenas around here, I mean, if they see a wildebeest calf, they would definitely go after it. So Coco, you're asking why hyenas have got such long necks. And I think, I mean, it's got a lot to do with the muscles that they have. You know, they are one of the strongest, they have one of the strongest jaws in the whole entire bush. And so having those big muscles just helps them bite down onto things so they can crush those bones that they need. If you just watch how they walk, I mean, they're also quite reliant on their scent of smell to look for things. And so quite often that long neck just helps get their nose right down onto the ground. And so if they're on a trail of something, they'll be able to follow it with relative ease. I'd love to know what those 5 hyenas are up to. It does seem like they are moving into the bush, so we won't be with them for too much longer. I'm quite curious to see if we can find any tracks of that lioness with her 2 cubs and see if they were moving around this area sometime last night. As that last one is disappearing, I think we're going to carry on and start driving again. See if we might be able to find any clues to where this lioness has taken her two cubs. We are actually quite close to the area where this lioness gave birth to her cubs, and so that might be a place that we'll go check next. But Andrew's got some beautiful elephants that he would love to show you.
WildEarth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special WildEarth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes WildEarth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a WildEarth Explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
We've seen these ellies really chase wild dogs before. Let's get into spot. There we go, there it comes. Look at that, isn't that amazing?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
So Hart's still here, looking rather wet and soggy. Now, for any dog owners, you think your wet dog smells bad. You have not had the pleasure of smelling a wet hyena. One of Hart's cubs, is under the car, seeking shelter under the car, which is not ideal. Clearly doesn't want to quite go into the den just yet, and thought, I'm going to still be able to be out here, but I'm going to be under WildEarth's car. It's great, actually. So when you think of Hearts 2, which we're going to work on getting names over this festive period. Oh, hello. One is a boy and one is a girl. So what that means is they are going to have very, very different lives ahead of them. Just like andBeyond and Swazi, actually. The girl will stay in the clan. She will not leave. She will be part of the Djuma clan. Whether her mother's rank rises or falls, you never know. Heart's very much in the middle. She's sort of in very good position. She's always had a very good relationship with Ribbon. And the mother will probably have a relationship with their daughter throughout. They won't travel together all the time, but they will be very, very close, just like Ribbon and Intima. Now, for the boy, it's a very different life path. It will be a choice. And to disperse or to stay or go, basically. And I was sent a wonderful paper about males, because male hyenas are not studied too often. They're not so easy to study, I guess. And basically, the sort of silver spoon effect really came through, and the paper showed that high-ranking sons, so high-ranking males born from high-ranking females, they grew at higher rates. So if you compare a son from a high ranker and a son from a low ranker, they actually grow and develop at different rates. The higher rankers grow faster. And that's most likely due to nutrition and getting better access to food. I'm sure it's solely down to that, not necessarily genetics. Higher ranked boys are also more likely to disperse into clans offering the best fitness. So I wonder, I don't know this, but I wonder if the males assess all the neighbouring clans. They may be sort of, oh, here you come. Test the water with different clans and decide which ones offer the best Oh, the other one's popped out. No one wants to sleep. Which clan offers the best prospects, most likely in terms of ladies? High-ranking males start reproducing earlier than low-ranked males. And they also have a higher reproductive value. So it's a fascinating study. And it just goes a little bit into the fitness of dispersing sons. And it's all down to your mother. Who your mother is going to sort of denote exactly who you will be. And if you've been born with that silver spoon stuck in your mouth, then you do have a better life ahead of you in terms of reproduction. See, it's not really a choice when it comes to matriarch, because I guess it stems back so long in history. There will always be a matriarch, and it sort of is a knock-on effect from there. So the females will always have a rank of their mothers or just a little bit lower. Now, that's the general rule of thumb. I'm sure there's examples. In fact, there are examples where the daughter appears to be slightly higher, but overall, the daughters are born with the rank of their mother or just a little bit lower. So if your mother's high-ranked, you're going to be high-ranked. If your mother's low-ranked, going to be low-ranked. And generally speaking, matriarchal takeovers, as far as we know, are quite rare. And I wonder if maybe they're not as rare as we think. We just haven't studied them. But it did happen in the North Clan, and it happened in the Djuma clan as well. But generally speaking, another high ranker will take over the clan. They may battle for the position if something happens to the matriarch, but normally it would be the next highest ranker that would step up, if not challenged. So it's definitely not a sort of decision or a group decision. There's no meeting around the table. But the high ranker will stay high ranker. And if something was to happen to Ribbon, for example, and Tima would most likely step up. She could be challenged by the likes of Hart, who we're looking at right now. And clearly the lowest ranker can challenge the status quo if they wish, if they've got the right resources. And normally the resources is a girl army. Gather some girls, know who your friends are, know who your enemies are. And there's actually a paper on that. You can find it online about social alliances and spotted hyenas. I use the word friends very loosely because that's a human sort of term. But they do have alliances there. Definitely are hyenas that they're closer to and that they have a sort of relationship with, and individuals that they're not close to. That's very apparent, even in a small clan like the Djuma clan. Now, for Ribbon, I'm still convinced that she didn't have a girl army. She had Ntima, yes, her daughter, but I'm convinced she had a boy army. But I'm not sure about that. Oh, I think Hart's about to walk away. And if she does, of course, we'll have to leave. That's soggy bottom. But for now, we're going to send you across to Andrew and his elephants.
Thanks, Lorraine. We still have this herd of elephants. You can see now they're right in front of us on the road. And waiting to see one of those female birds just lying flat on the floor like this. And they're all just happy about the weather. They don't often always have a weather like this. You understand, it's been hot for a couple of days, the last past days. It only get cooler since yesterday afternoon, and of course, it's drizzling. But elephants, they are very much active animals. So even though it's hot, you find them move. If they ever rest, it's going to be probably for maybe an hour or so, and get on to move again. Have to feed, withstand their whole body weight. Full-grown elephants can actually eat anything from 250, 300 kg of food a day, so it's quite a lot to eat. With this time of year, everywhere it's green, so they don't actually struggle to find food of themselves. And they also do less destruction, so no more pushing of this tree down. Imagine what you see there. They're trying to evade the ground. What the female does is suck through the air or the soil through the trunk and blow the air while she rises trunk, able to pour the sand over their body. But this is actually normally behavior for the elephants. They are always playing with sand. Wherever it's wet, they love to play in that. Wherever it's water, you're more likely to find them go inside to the water, swim. So, looks like I don't have way to turn yet. But if I can take another moment just to see if they ever give us a road, then while we're doing that, I'm going to be linking you back to DJ with best yet foxes.
I couldn't hear that at all. Oh, good morning. We're back at the bat-eared fox den, and luckily she's just lying still there, so we're just waiting to see if there are any pups that come out. But she's you can see she's still sort of hesitant. She's still trying to make a choice. You know, are we a threat? Does she run away? So we're just trying to sit quietly, not make too much noise, and hopefully she trusts us enough to let us see the cute little youngsters. Just look at the size of those ears. So they'll lower their ears flat like that so that they're not exposed, or you actually pick up their profile. Sometimes they just look more like a stone. But their ears are for hearing. They can hear little insects and beetle grubs and things scratching underneath the surface by at least 30 centimeters by using those ears. So they hold them just above the surface so that they can hear what's going on down below. And then it will also help them with thermoregulation. She's also just enjoying the morning sun. You can actually see how dirty her little nose or muzzle is from all the digging that she's been doing. Nice little mask across the face and the nose. Moderators made a comment, "Oh, love these foxes. They are just too cute, aren't they?" I think, and I'm just going to get my binoculars out, but I think I can actually see movement in the bushes at the back, in that little gap behind it. Yeah, I'm just going to have a look quickly. But she has chosen to have her den about 5 meters off the road. So people tell me, the guides are telling me that she's got 3 pups with her. We just have to wait and see. It was a little bit chilly this morning, so maybe they're still down in the den. Maybe she calls them out for the sun shortly. We'll stick with her a little bit while she trusts us and see what happens. If she sort of gets up and dashes off, then we'll we'll leave and we'll go and look for something else. I think we'll just sit here for a moment and see. Look how those ears are working. Must have been a bird or something. I don't see any movement anymore now behind the bushes. Just look at how thick that coat is. I mean, to think that this animal lives in the desert and has such a thick coat. They are nocturnal. So yes, I know it's morning drive, but they do like to enjoy the sun before it gets too hot, and then they'll go into the den. But that thick coat will help them through the winter and through the colder evening nights when they are foraging. And sometimes also, if they get a bit of a fright, they'll sort of raise all their hair and even raise their tail when they run away. And they generally only run short distances until they can hide. So they're relatively small, only sort of 3 to 5 kilograms. So not very big, but their shoulder height is 40 centimeters and their ears are up to 13 centimeters. So that's amazing. That's almost a quarter of their body from body length is, or shoulder height is their ears. And they have a very interesting scientific name. It's Otiscion megalotis. So the Otiscion is sort of a Greek word. Otis for ear, scion for dog. And then once again, the species name, the megalotis, the word mega for large and otis for ear. So they definitely, just by using that scientific name, are referring to those large ears. So yesterday when we came here, we could actually hear the pups at the den, but we're not hearing anything at the moment. So while we sit and wait, cross your fingers, we're going to send you across to Mike, who's got a nice bird for you.
So those bat-eared fox's pups might be a little concerned if this bird was sitting above them. It's a beautiful brown snake eagle. As the name suggests, they mostly hunt for snakes, but they won't turn their nose up at a small mammal now and again. Hi everyone, my name is Mike Anderson, and behind the camera is Seb. You've joined us at Ecotraining's Pridelands Conservancy, where we are heading down to an area called Twin Pans, where there's been a buffalo herd spotted. Oh, there's a Ngala, a lovely male Ngala that's just come out of the bushes. And on the way there, we found this brown snake eagle, which is very beautiful. Big-headed bird with naked legs, no feathers on its legs, because if it had feathers on its legs, it might find itself being bitten by one of these venomous snakes that they so fondly catch. So with those scales on its legs, it's able to defend itself. It's like armor. Doing a very typical brown snake eagle behavior of sitting up on a dead tree, looking down upon the savannah with those beautiful orange-yellow eyes. I don't know if you can see those, but they've got lovely eyes, very orange-yellow. It's one of the distinctive features of this bird. Very upright posture, big head, naked legs, and yellow eyes. So this one is doing a bit of preening right now. Very important. It's a cold day, not too many thermals, which is the warm air rising off the ground from the sun. So they'll need to use a lot of wing power in order to keep themselves in the sky. So it's best to make sure that their feathers are in perfect condition. It's actually so nice to see them doing this, ruffling their feathers and preening and sometimes stretching as well after a long cold night. This bird does not do anything at night time. It would have sat probably on a tree just like this the whole night. And now the morning comes. Cold days like this, it's not too active with the snakes, although it's not cold really, it's just relatively cold because it's been hot before. So snakes can still be active, and that's exactly what it's looking for. Anything like a reptile or a snake, as I said, even a small mammal could be on the menu. can see the wind is blowing quite a lot. You can see its feathers ruffling there. It's otherwise very quiet in the savannah. Seen some impalas and some nyala, wildebeest, zebra and giraffe. We're heading down to where the big buffalo herd is, in a nice open clearing, and see what they're up to. I haven't seen a buffalo for a while, so I'm very excited to see them. As you all know, they've become one of my favorite animals. Just love the buffaloes. Now this brown snake eagle looking straight towards us. So they've got incredible eyesight, much better than ours is. And when they fly up in the sky, sometimes hundreds of meters up in the air, they can look down and see something as small as a hand with no problems at all. Odetta, I'm not exactly sure what's the heaviest thing that this bird could catch, but if you look at the size of this bird now, I've seen a brown snake eagle carrying a puff adder, which is a fat, short little snake that's very, very venomous. And the snake itself was probably, I'd say, not half the weight. It could have been, I suppose. I think this bird gets to about 4 kilos. I'm not sure. But the snake was pretty big. It was at least almost as long as this bird, which is pretty impressive. Consider that. And then you can see the white throat patch there. Oh, that little white throat patch, when the wind blows, you see that white, and it's sometimes mistaken for another very rare bird called a bat hawk. No, bat hawk is very different, though. That bird is actually flying around in the evenings, hunting for bats and swifts mostly. But yeah, so quite a big snake, and their whole body is very light. Most of the birds of prey have incredibly light bodies, and that allows them to fly just like that. Awesome. So you see how much it has to flap its wings? Because there's no thermals. Normally this bird would be soaring on wings outstretched, using those hot air rising in order to keep them up in the sky. But because it's so cold today, there's no thermals, and so we'll have to use a lot of wing power. That was really cool. It actually flew exactly in the direction of where these buffaloes are that we're going to try and head to. So we'll head down there and have a look. Just listening for a moment to see if there's any other sounds. Sometimes there's alarm calling that happens when these birds fly off, but no alarm calling. So in the meantime, whilst we head for those buffaloes, we'll send you over to Deirdre with her bat-head foxes.
So we think this is the mommy bat-eared fox here. So she also keeps using those ears for listening. She keeps altering position, so she's just re-angling her body in the warm sun. So while you were away from us, she was actually facing the other way with her head in the bush, which is perfect because she clearly knows how to be a TV star. She turned around and she put herself back where she was in that nice thing. But you can just see there she is just enjoying the morning sun. It's going to get quite warm today. Our temperature now is 21 degrees. Oh. Maybe we're lucky. We just sit with... Oh, no, now she's moved. It's a very pretty eland bean there, Darby. Well done. I'm going to have to move position, but I'm also... Oh, here comes another one. Here's another one. So I'm not going to move just yet. I literally just see his 2 ears above the eland bean. Have you got him there? Look. Oh, no. I can see half a ear. There we go. So that's the second one that's come in. So I'm hesitant to move right now because she was on her way to the den, which if we're just patient, she might call the pups out. So if we move around too much with the vehicle, we might make her hesitate and take a little bit longer. So at this stage, that's pretty much our view of one of the other animals at the den. So it could be the male. Yep, that's... So the eland bean are not very high. The eland bean are within their 40 centimeters. That can hide a whole bat-eared fox. But I think that one is actually just lying down there as well. Very, very pretty. So don't forget to send your questions to #WildEarth and put @FC in the front to engage with us on live safari. Paul is asking, what is the difference between a fox and a jackal? Well, that's actually a good question. Maybe the viewers can help me with that one. I know this is, the bat-eared fox is the only, between the bat-eared fox and the Cape fox, the Cape fox is the only true fox. So they're all in the canine carnivore family, so they're all sort of little carnivores, but yeah, unless we Google it, I can't tell you off the top of my head. Good question. So the bat-eared fox, well, they're sort of insectivores as well as little carnivores because they'll eat lots of insects, but then they can eat rodents and birds, so a jackal is pretty much the same. Oh, he just growled at us. So as he looked up, he just gave us a little bit of a bark, so you're not too sure. And then the other one reacted, she also stood up. But I think if we just stay, they'll potentially trust us again. You can just see her ears just above the... So Bella is asking, is it normal for the sort of bat-eared foxes to be out during the day? Here, not so much, because they do tend to spend most of their day in the shade under these clumpy bushes, exactly where she's lying next to. But they do enjoy the early morning sun. As soon as the temperatures start getting so extreme, then they don't enjoy it that much, and then they'd rather go down underground where it is a little bit cooler, or in the thicker shade areas. So in the winter season, they'll actually spend most of their day lying sort of in the sunny spot under a tree, but they'll forage at night, and then the same in the summer season. They'll forage at night, but they'll spend a little bit of the morning before it gets too hot out in the sun. And then as soon as it starts getting very warm, which here in the Kalahari is anywhere from 8-9 in the morning, it's already starting to get rather warm. So that the other adult just ran a little bit of a loop around, so not the most relaxed, not as comfortable with our presence as this one here. You're just seeing the two ears just above the eland bean. So if you have just joined us, that's the top tips of the bat-eared fox. And just see how easily they're capable of moving in two different directions. Oh, yes, hello. Peters is saying that the ears remind her of what, wings that are about to take off? Aeroplane wings that are about to take off, yeah. They are very large, but you can see ability to move them in two different directions at the same time. That's called omnidirectional, and you do see that behavior also in rhinos, that they're able to hear from two different directions. So she scuttled off. We'll just stand by, but I'm not too sure. We might have to alter position. She has moved off a little bit, so we'll see if we can just start up and just creep a little bit further forward at this stage. Hopefully we do get another view of them and she hasn't decided that that's it for the day. So just oh, there she is. Got her. So she just moved into a slightly shadier spot. So Nina is asking, what are the major threats to bat-eared foxes? So they would also be vulnerable to predators. But they are carnivores, so sometimes the carnivores don't tend to bother the carnivores too much. But for them, it's any one of the diseases, things like rabies, canine distemper. Those are things that could wipe out an entire population of bat-eared foxes if they get any one of those diseases. I can actually see, I think, Darby, this is the hole here. If you want to just, because you can just see the activity at the actual den. So yesterday we thought it was the one behind us, but if I look, she could have moved them a little bit, but you just see all that activity and the fresh movement on the soil there. It does suggest that's maybe where they've been. They really, really are little cute animals. But look at how thick that coat is. Nice and warm for winter. I mean, winter temperatures here can get to -4. We've had -9. So, yeah, I'd certainly choose to go out on game drive in one of those winter coats. I know Dylan and Jandre braved the winter season here. And Darby. Can't forget. It's also a nice tail that sometimes they sort of curl up and tuck their nose into towards their tail. That's for a dog or any animal that curls up like that. That's one of the ways of conserving body heat, is to curl up like that. You can hear the clapperlarks in the background and the red-crested korhan. So Kim's question is, what would their normal diet consist of? So they're predominantly insectivores. With those large ears, they hold them sort of parallel to the surface of the ground, and they're listening for beetle larvae and things scratching underneath the ground. With big satellite dishes like that, they're effective to about 30 centimeters. They can hear things, and then they've got really long claws, and they'll dig up that food. And they do forage in little family groups at night, so all going right throughout their area, foraging for mostly insects, but they can take birds, they can also take small little rodents. Oh. I don't know if that was her that made that noise. So I think, yeah, we just have the patience. At least she trusts us. She hasn't run away just yet. So I think we'll be okay if we don't alter position again. We just have to have patience with these kinds of things. Maybe the children had a late night, that's why they're still sleeping. See how quickly she moves if she thinks she hears something. So we're going to give it one more bash and see if we're lucky. We're going to send you across to Mike, who's got some buffalo.
As you can see, we've managed to find the buffalo herd resting in the golden grasses in a clearing that's called Ngati, just on the southern boundary of Pride Lands, not so far from the town of Hoedspruit, which is really cool. Our reserve comes right up to the frontier town, and it's really, really nice to know that all this wildlife is so relaxed, even so close to human habitation. And now we just had a whole bunch of impalas that just moved past here, which started alarm calling frantically, and the buffaloes didn't even seem to perk up at all. I wonder if there isn't some sort of a predator around this area. So we're going to stick around a little while and see what happens. This big herd of buffalo is taking the time to rest now in this cool weather. There's no need for them to be on the move trying to find water, and there's plenty of grass around, so I'm sure they don't need to expend too much energy today. You can still hear the impalas calling in the distance, but it's quite far away now. They're obviously on the move. Whatever it is, it could be... We know that Pixie Pan female likes this area with her 2 cubs. So it could be her, or it could be Lagatha, that single lioness. She also has been known to come through this area from time to time, but neither of those 2 predators would really be interested in this herd of buffalo. There are a lot of individuals here, and buffalo are well known for defending each other from danger. Don, that is a great question, and one that I certainly cannot answer with 100% clarity. I think that they make a number of grunts and bellows, all meaning different things. I'm sure the buffaloes know exactly what they're trying to say. But it's not something like a monkey which has very distinctive, different sounding calls that we as humans have slowly been able to piece together what kind of animals they're maybe alarming for, or what kind of information they're trying to portray. There's a couple of birds flying up there, and one of the birds that's flying there in that little group, those are all oxpeckers, and one of them is a yellow-billed oxpecker, which is quite a rare bird for this area. Can't see them now. They've just gone down to sit on the backs of some of these buffalo. But in this area, red-billed buffalo weavers are very common. Yellow-billed buffalo weavers are still considered quite a rarity. The further north you go, the more you'll see them sitting on the backs of the buffaloes. But it's really nice to see that they're starting to spread. Yellow-billed oxpeckers were very prevalent in this area, and then they're much more associated with large animals, like these buffaloes. But then there was a horrendous animal disease called rinderpest that ravaged southern Africa, in fact the whole continent. I can't tell you how long, maybe 100 years ago, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. But it basically killed probably somewhere in the region of about 75% of all the antelope species. The big herds of things like wildebeest and buffalo were decimated by the rinderpest disease, and so the birds that were associated with them also died out. It's good to see that they're coming back now as all the protected areas start to work their magic and bring animals back from the brink. So these are mostly female buffaloes, as you can see with the relatively small horns and the boss on top of their head. There'll be a few big males interspersed in there, here and there, as well as youngsters, of course, like that one there, which has got a very furry boss on top of its head. And there'll be a few large males. There's one quite close to us, although it's difficult to see him because he's behind some bushes, but there'll be a few large males on the outskirts that keep these youngsters and females safe from any predators that might be around. It's actually why they've probably chosen this particular area. It's nice and open, and so they've got a better chance to spot any danger that might be approaching.
Just look at that scenery. That's just absolutely awesome. We're very fortunate in that we've got not a cloud in the sky this morning. We got chased away by the rain yesterday, and I believe some of our other companions have been chased away by the rain this morning. But we've still got our little bat-eared fox here, one of the very unique mammals of the Kalahari. And she's... we're waiting patiently for the pups to come out of the den. So she's giving you a really nice view of her face now. We assume this is the female because she's closest to the den. She's the most vigilant around the den. And we did have the male running around a little bit earlier. But a nice bat-eared fox. Just listen to those awesome Kalahari sounds. She's taking a bit of a morning snooze. Now that I can feel the sun on us, it does feel like it's time for a morning snooze. Yo. Oh. I didn't hear that.
We're still sitting with the buffalo, and they are still really, really static in a game drive speak. Oh, look at that. There's one mating, or trying to mate, or something. What's going on there? A bit more left, bit more left, bit more left. Oh, no, here they come, here they come. Oh, it's just a bit more left of that one there, Seb. There's two buffaloes. Right there, there's one in the open that you're looking at. That one was being mounted by another male, and I think that's a young male. It might be a female, but there was a... No, that's definitely a female. It was being mounted by the other male. It was really impressive. There's a massive male buffalo that was climbing on top of that female. You can just see his boss through that small leadwood tree. He was mating with her. That was amazing. Just literally caught it out of the corner of my eye. He came out of the bushes and he was standing up high on its back. So Manati, that's a great question. So if you look at this buffalo on the left there, which is a female, it's got small horns, not a big boss, it's not very heavy, relatively small body as well. Males are much larger with big, strong, thick horns. In fact, I think, Seb, you'll be able to see that one maybe a little bit to the right. Yeah, that's a male over there. So look at the difference in that horns. Big, heavy, strong horns, thick neck, big body. That male buffalo is one of the ones that will protect the group. So they weigh a lot more as well. Whereas a male buffalo might be up to 800 kilograms. A female would not usually get much bigger than about 600. Maybe even a bit smaller. They're remarkably different in size. That's about the only real differences, though, between males and females that are immediately obvious. The males, you'll be able to see the sex organs, of course, underneath his belly. But otherwise, once they're all amongst in a big herd like this, the horns is really the only way that you're going to be telling the difference. And the males need those big horns for fighting with each other. So they can win the dominance of a herd and then get mating rights with the females. So the one that was mating, who we can't see, or at least mounting, that one would probably have been one of the larger male buffaloes who has won the right to mate with that female and create the next generation. Of buffaloes. So that one there is a female. No testicles that you can see hanging down, no penile sheath. It's the one that was being mated with. She looks like a big female. So in her prime, there's the male that was mounting. Now you can see he's a big, strong buffalo. Let's see if he tries again. That could be interesting. See what he's doing? He's smelling underneath her tail. She lifts her tail up. And he's basically trying to figure out her reproductive cycle. He's trying to figure out if she's in estrus, ready and receptive. See how he follows her closely, and he's a massive buffalo. I mean, he weighs 800 kilograms, and he jumped up onto her back. It must be very traumatic for the female, having such a massive animal trying to climb on your back. But then again, the urge to mate is irresistible. So she's not really fighting it. You see how she stands there, and every now and again she'll probably even reverse closer to the male to show interest. Oh, there's another male approaching. Seems to be a bit of a standoff. Oh, he's pretending to eat, like, I'm not interested, I'm just eating here. Never mind me. And he moves off. He's been seen off by the competition. All of these big, strong males now will be watching that female if she's in estrus, because they'll be able to smell her. They'll be waiting for a chance. Leah, they definitely do. All the buffaloes will use their horns to defend themselves. They won't use their horns to fight for dominance, but the females will often protect their youngsters from predators, as well as when another buffalo comes too close to their calf, they might want to chase it off and just say, give my calf some space. And so they definitely all use their horns. We often see buffaloes scratching with their horns on trees. And that's just a way of, for the males, showing off their strength, and also scratching. There's ticks and parasites and things that will bury themselves right at the edge of the horns where they connect with the skull. There's a lot of blood vessels there, and it'll be very uncomfortable for them. But yes, all the buffaloes will use their horns from time to time. See now a couple more individuals starting to stand up, but absolutely no real definitive movement happening. But the wind is picking up a bit. I wonder if we're also maybe going to get a little bit of a drizzle. I hear it's raining in most of our other feeds, which is good for the Lowveld. We really need the rain. We've had so many very dry years. So these buffaloes will be very keen as well for a lot of wet weather. With their very big, strong bodies, they won't be too worried about getting cold. They generate a lot of body heat and they're very big. As long as they can eat plenty, they'll stay nice and warm, and they bunch up like that to make sure that they can keep as warm as possible. There's a red-billed oxpecker landing on the back of that female. The birds will suffer if there's too much rain. Of course, if it's raining very heavily, they can't go out and forage very easily. The oxpeckers will generally be okay, because they'll just go and sit on the back of a buffalo to keep warm. Maybe even hide inside the buffalo's ear or underneath the chin to protect themselves from the rain. Just we've been noticing a lot of trees flowering, grasses in abundance, all sorts of insects that are absolutely abundant this year because of the good rains that we're having. Well, we're going to wait here once again just to keep our eye on these buffaloes and send you back to Deirdre and her lovely little bat-eared foxes.
So after our rains, we also do have an abundance of insects. We're looking at our same female bat-eared fox here. So she'll feed predominantly, although we sort of had a wide variety on the diet, but the largest percentage of their diet is actually harvested termites. And they also say they selectively choose not to eat the snouted termites because the snouted termites have that chemical defense, and for them it would sort of make their muzzle and their nose area quite sticky, and it's like a little insect, it's like a chemical repellent. So they choose not to eat snouted termites, although it's an available food source. So she must get pretty tired. She suckles these, they're actually called kits, believe it or not. She will suckle them for 14 to 15 weeks. That's 3.5 months. And her only sort of water intake is based on the food that she eats. So she needs to eat well in order to produce the milk, in order to feed the pups, and only once those pups are finished lactating does then the male get involved with their raising. He'll chaperone them, moving them from den to den. He'll help her carry them if they need to move den sites, and do some babysitting and grooming. So she does the predominant work in the first 3.5 months of the little kits' lives. I think we probably going to move on from this one because we haven't seen any activity at the den, and we'll just keep coming, and maybe the one day that we come, the pups will be out or the kits will be out. But we've heard no audio or anything from them, so they're definitely sort of, at this stage, probably fast asleep. So Bella's question is, how many pups do these fox usually have? They can have anywhere up to 6, so between 1 and 6. This particular group, we know we have seen 3 pups so far. That's what we know. And they're still relatively small in comparison to her. But it does take a lot of care and a lot of time to get them ready for the big wide world. And then they'll have to start foraging, and once they grow up, then they'll have to move off on their own. She is quite tired. I don't blame you. Most moms get tired with one child. You can imagine having triplets. That's effectively what she's had. She's had triplets. So keep your questions coming. #WildEarth. Put at FC in the front and you can engage with us and ask us questions. But I definitely think from now we'll move on a little bit. Leave her to carry on with her morning snooze. But ever alert. She doesn't actually get much solid sleep. She naps a bit and then she hears something and then she naps a little bit more and then she hears something. You just see how that head drops. That look says content. Liam's asking, do they have good eyesight? I would say so, because although they're nocturnal and moving predominantly at night, so they'd have very good nocturnal vision, they are very, very alert. Even if you're walking or you're driving, they see you from a very, very long distance away. So they do have good eyesight. But as far as senses go, for them, with having ears that large, their hearing would be probably their most acute sense, should I say, and then as well as their sense of smell. In the winter mornings, because it's warmer in the winter and it's really, really cold at night, you will often find them feeding late afternoon. They already start sort of 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. They'll start feeding so that they don't have to forage or look for food in the much colder, earlier hours of the morning when it's starting to drop to sort of the -2, -1. And then a lot of the insect activity also starts ceasing at that point in time. So there's a lot less activity in the winter season in those really, really cold morning hours, and they'll feed earlier in the day, and then in summer they wait until until dusk, until the sun's gone down, before they actually start moving around looking for food. So we're going to say goodbye to our snoozing bat-eared fox. We're going to send you to Mike with a buffalo update.
Snoozy foxes and snoozy buffalo. This morning is a very lazy day for the animals because it's nice and cool. Now, these buffaloes are savanna buffaloes, or the buffalo that we all sort of see on safaris on the TV in Africa. But there are another type of buffalo that are also found in Africa. It's the forest buffalo, sometimes also known as the red buffalo. Very different looking to these buffalo. I mean, I guess the same general body shape, but very reddish in color and quite a lot smaller, as most animals that live in forests are. So they just don't have as much space to move around, so their bodies are a bit smaller. And throughout the world there are different buffalo species as well. From the bison of North America and the Great Plains to the water buffalo of Southeast Asia, which are now quite widespread throughout the world, including northern Australia, which they're not native to. But these buffalo are definitely the most commonly found, or actually the most abundant, I should say, not the most commonly found, the most abundant. And although they are missing from most of the range that they used to have, there's a lot of them in South Africa, a very healthy population. The Kruger National Park, which is where we are, or at least the Greater Kruger, the private reserves attached to the Kruger Park, open system. Kruger Park has about 30,000 buffalo. It's an estimate, of course. I've no idea how many they really have, and no one does, because it's impossible to count every single individual, but estimates are around 30,000, which is a good population. Actually, many bovine species are very closely related to buffalo. Many of the different cow species are probably, now I'm no taxonomist, so I can't tell you for sure, but probably closely related. Many of them might have come from buffaloes, and then over lots and lots of time they were bred for certain characteristics, and they changed slowly into all the species of cow that we have today. So all the cows are very similar. Produced milk, buffalo milk is used, can be used very widely. It's very thick and very creamy. High energy milk. So yeah, they were domesticated because of that reason. Also, of course, you know, this animal can be domesticated quite easily, and so pastoralists, I suppose, would have collected these kind of animals slowly over time and used them for meat and milk. Amazing. As I said, I'm not a taxonomist. I wish that I could know more about all the species and how they're intertwined together taxonomically. It does get very complex. In fact, I was just doing this birding course that I was telling you all about, and we were learning all about how bird families work, and it's incredible how complex it all is. This buffalo is busy chewing the cud right now. It's regurgitated some food. Actually, regurgitation is the wrong term, but they brought food up from its first stomach chamber and put it into its mouth, and it's chewing it again to grind it up into tiny little fine particles, which can then be swallowed, and even more of the nutrients can be absorbed. See, a number of the buffaloes are starting to get up now. I think soon we'll see them all moving. Now, they can chew the cud just like this one is, get more nutrients, but they need to keep replenishing the food in their body, in their stomach, because it doesn't take long for them to, well, they defecate constantly. If you ever follow a buffalo herd, you'll find hundreds and hundreds of buffalo pats everywhere you go. And so, although it's a slow uptake of nutrients, they have to keep adding more. Mandy, they've got, well, technically it's one stomach with 4 chambers. 4 stomach chambers. So it's the omasum, the rumen is the first one, then the reticulum, then there's the omasum and the abomasum. Those are the 4 stomach chambers, and the rumen is the one which they regurgitate always the food up to rechew it. And then all the other chambers do a combination of fermentation with these microorganisms that help to break down the cellulose, which is a very difficult hard substance in green plants, or in all plants actually, almost. And then absorption, so lots of little what they call cilia, little hair-like projections inside the stomachs that help to absorb all the nutrients. 4 stomach chambers, as opposed to hippos that have 3, and then things like zebras, which just have the one massive stomach chamber, which makes them look very fat because of all the gases. So there I thought the buffaloes were about to get up and start getting on the move, and then they start lying down again. We're just getting a little bit uncomfortable, I guess. Perhaps they'll stay here the whole day. I don't think so. I think they're going to get up and move at some point. They do need to drink fairly regularly, and although there's lots of green grass around, they might not need to drink as much. I do believe they will head to a waterhole to have a drink at some point today. They might not move very far. There's a place called Twin Pans nearby where these buffaloes could probably get a bit of a drink, which is good. Good for them. Janice, these animals are very unpredictable in the wild. When we are walking in the bush, we often think that this is the most dangerous animal because at any point it could see us and make a quick decision as to run away or to come towards us. But human beings are very resourceful. And so if you could capture one of these animals, maybe a youngster, it was not too difficult to domesticate them. Animals need certain things. They need food, water, shelter. And that's the main things that they need. So if you provide food, water, and shelter to an animal for long enough, and it has no other choice, of course it will start to rely on you for that food, water and shelter, which is exactly why we always tell our students in our camps, do not feed animals. I know the Ngala that walk around the camps are very cute and they are very habituated, they are not scared of people, but if you start throwing out food, let's say onto the floor, and they start eating it, they will start to rely on that food, especially in the dry winter months when there isn't much other food around. And so we have to be very careful of that, because any animal, let's say a buffalo, for example, if it started to become domesticated, in fact, I've been on reserves before where buffaloes had been previously fed during droughts. You know, a vehicle would drive up with a trailer full of lucerne or whatever food and throw it out, and the buffalo would eat that. And then every time they saw a vehicle after that, they'd start to associate that with being fed. And it caused a problem because later on those buffaloes started to come up to the vehicles all the time. Very nerve-wracking for people. It's very important. These animals can be domesticated. In fact, most animals can be domesticated in one sense or the other with varying degrees of success. It's never a good idea. Animals must be wild. This is a wild animal. Keep it wild. Let it be itself. It's a good question, though. I've actually always wondered. I've never really known of zebras that are domesticated. All the other animals that I can think of, I've seen them, you know, in various places that have been relatively domesticated, but zebras not so much. Habituated, yes, but not domesticated. Ever seen someone riding a zebra? Have you ever seen someone riding a zebra, Seb? Have you ever seen someone riding a zebra? Like a horse? No, I don't think so.
It would be like a donkey.
It would be like a donkey. When I grew up in Zimbabwe, there was a person who had a buffalo that was domesticated, a big buffalo bull. It was obviously great when it was young, but as it got older, it became, you know, very strong and unpredictable. So they just had the buffalo living in an enclosure like a paddock. There was other animals as well in there, but they never, once it got big enough, they couldn't ever go close to it again. It's always best to leave these animals wild as they come. Now you can see all those horns, not very sharp. If I put my finger on it or my hand on it, it's not gonna hurt me. But if you put 800 kilograms of muscle and rage behind it, that can absolutely eviscerate any predator. I've seen lion thrown around like a rag doll by a buffalo herd before. It got itself surrounded somehow. Maybe it was trying to hunt them, and then as the buffaloes turned and chased back, the other lions ran off, and this one lion had to, I think it was, climbed a small fallen tree, but eventually it had to jump off the tree and try and run away, and it got caught by the buffaloes and thrown up, tossed up into the air. I'm not even sure if that lion made it in the end. Many lions, I'm sure, have been killed by buffaloes. It's an absolutely formidable adversary. Well, we're going to head off now. I think we're going to leave these buffaloes and see what else we can find.
There's a grounding earthiness to this place that we feel in our ancestors. It's a place where, believe it or not, we evolved as a human species, and anyone who's come to Africa will understand that. The connectivity that the continent has to the person and to people's souls is next level. I am thoroughly looking forward to taking you on your next adventure when we explore all the small and big things.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. An ever-increasing part of the global population is losing its connection with nature. WildEarth is here to reduce people's stress and anxiety, allowing you to escape into nature even just for a few hours a day. However, WildEarth is expensive to run, and we need help from you to keep this ship going. WildEarth Explorers gives you the opportunity to be a part of a program that supports the sharing of nature with the world.
My name is James Hendry, and I work here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi sands on the western fringes of the Greater Kruger National Park. My favorite part of getting questions from viewers is that we get to have long and varied discussions about all sorts of different aspects of nature. Because our audience comes from all over the world, it's very special to have different perspectives from everywhere. If you want to submit a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to the Live Safari page and submit your question beneath the live feed.
Have you been watching WildEarth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. WildEarth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live WildEarth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We have a very interesting little plant here. I'm talking about this one with the lovely curly, grasshopper. A little elegant grasshopper just jumped off. So nice wavy curly leaves in a nice fan shape. This is a Bushman's poison bulb. I'll bring you a picture shortly of the flower, but it's nice little curly leaves, and it's got, if you can imagine a big bulb under the ground, it's like an onion sort of peeling underneath the ground, and we often find that the porcupine have actually dug them up, and then you find that onion with lots of peeling on it. And the Bushman, as it says, Bushman poison bulb, the Bushman would use the bulb to put the poison on the arrows, and also use that sort of papery-like covering of the bulb to heal and put on wounds or as a nice covering. So a beautiful red flower. It comes out in what they call an umbel, so a straight up flower within lots of branches. Well, I'll come closer and then I'll show you in the book. And when it's dry, also called a tumbleweed. So I'm just going to show you this one here in the book. So beautiful, beautiful flower. I have seen one or two recently, so we just have to be in the right place at the right time in order to show you the flower. There are some out at the moment. And then that's there, you see the tumbleweed. When it breaks off, it'll actually tumble in the wind, and in that process, the little seeds that will fall out of that. So the Bushman's poison bulb. So we're just going to show you, Darby's going to show you the Damara mole rat mounds of sand, and then I'll show you mole rats in general. But he's gone on a little bit of a colony expansion over the time frame since we had our last rains. As soon as the soil is soft enough, they actually go and expand by pushing that soil up from underneath the ground, and it's almost the same diameter of the mole rat that comes out of that. We've been waiting. I still haven't actually physically seen one. Sometimes you see them in the early hours of the morning. They still popped out of the soil, but I'm just going to show you from here. Oh, sorry, I put it into the shot there. So, well, there isn't a picture of the Damara mole rat here, but you can just have a look at mole rats in general. And what makes a mole rat quite interesting, maybe we go to the top one here, is you actually see sort of like a pig-like snout, and their teeth. So they do like eating lots of bulbs, so they probably will eat some of the bulbous plants underneath the soil surface. But those teeth actually go through the lip. So they have their lip behind their teeth, so they use their teeth to help them dig. They're known as fossorial, which is sort of an underground dweller. And those teeth, with having the lip behind the teeth, it means he doesn't swallow too much sand. So he can use his teeth to dig, and then his feet in sort of a spade-like pedal manner to shove the soil out from behind himself and then up and out of the hole. So the Damara mole rats will live in a colony, but they've got a very interesting, sort of intricate breeding system, very similar to a caste system, where they have a dominant male and female pair that dominate over the rest of the mole rats in the colony. And they'll also have underneath the ground, they can go large. They can have probably 150 square meters, at least, as a sort of an area that they move in and under. So They get to expand if the colony starts getting larger, but they also have sort of food larders underneath the ground. They've made a chamber that they can store food. And with big teeth like that, I have seen before in another place, you just see the plant disappearing under the ground. So this particular mole rat, Daniel's asking the question, are they blind? These ones are not. They do have eyes that you do see on them. So you do get a naked mole rat, which is blind, but these particular ones do have, they do have eyes and they do use them. They surface every now and again, but it's very, very rare. Their predators would be something like a honey badger that would start sort of digging them up. They've done lots of interesting studies on the mole rats, and you wouldn't believe that there's a whole sort of family of them moving underneath the ground. But they do, they are funny little things, but you do see a serious building expansion just after we've had some rains. And then for a while it'll be that nothing's happening, and then they go again. Kelly's asking if the mole rats are nocturnal. That's an interesting question because technically they're in the dark under the burrow all the time. So they'll sort of forage, sleep, move, and do all of that stuff. For them it's dark all the time. So not necessarily nocturnal, but they will be active right throughout. But I do definitely think that they move and they're more active at night. And we've seen, anybody that's seen them has typically seen them in the early morning, just at dusk. And then as soon as they see them or they pick up the vibrations of the people or the vehicle or whatever sees them, they just get below surface as fast as possible. I can hear a book, my kitty calling. It's prr, prr. He sounds like a telephone, the old style telephone ring, but I can't see him. There's another flower here that I can show you, but I've got to look in the book to show you the flower. But this is the remainder of the, what's left of the flower, so where the seeds would be. That's known as the acrotome. I don't even know if it has a common name. That's the challenge with a lot of these flowers, is that they don't even have common names. But I'm going to get to the picture in the book. 239. This is a wonderful book for us flowering plants of the Kalahari, and it's definitely saved my bacon a few times, because without it I wouldn't actually know. I'm going to bring it actually closer to you so you can see, but very, very pretty white flowers. And also the idea there is that once the flowers have died off, the seeds are inside that pod or inside that ball and just shaking around in the wind. And we do have some really, really windy days. Just that shaking around in the wind will distribute the seeds. We've got, this one's probably not too far. We've got beautiful flowers here. I'll open it out for you. Of one of the wild cucumbers. We had a look the other day. I don't actually see any fruit around this particular one, but beautiful, beautiful little yellow flower, very hairy leaves. Feel a bit like sandpaper, and good for gripping on the soil and then sort of in a creeping motion. I noticed the other day when it was incredibly hot, all of them just lift their leaves straight up like that. So flat on the ground, you're getting good exposure from the sun, but when it's exceptionally hot, if you go straight up like that, you'll lose the least amount of moisture. But without all of these plants, in the winter season, this just becomes sort of open, sandy areas. Tato, your question is, what is my favorite flower? Wow, I'd probably have to go with, I'm going to try and find it for you. I think the foxgloves are very, very pretty. Let me see if I can find. Oh, no. Okay, well then I'll show you a wild sesame. They're also quite pretty. similar thing. And just because they're so interesting with the adaptation, so I can show you a wild sesame flower. A foxglove is almost similar, but on that lower petal in the foxglove, you've got all these little runway lights that allow the insects to land because they can see under UV light, and the runway lights then send them into the tube of the flower, and they get the pollen on their back. But those Bushman poison bulbs make amazing flowers. If I flick through the book, I'm sure I'll be able to find you some. Oh, these ones are really, really pretty. The violets, we see those every now and again. If I looked carefully, I could probably find one of these. They call the snapdragon family, but the bush violets, they're very, very pretty. Also very small. You don't really notice them much. They're quite tiny. Let's see what else is out. There's nothing else flowering in this patch. We actually stopped here to just show you the nice little mole rat expansion. Anna Marie is asking if there are any species of cacti in the Kalahari. So we don't have cacti like people would be familiar with a cactus, like a prickly pear or cactus from Mexico. We have what looks like a cactus to us is something in the euphorbia family. So they're sort of just off trees. No. Always use the index. That's the fastest way to get to the thing. So I'll show you what looks like what is cacti for us. We go for 305, one of the big ones. Yeah, see, I started at the front of the book. It would have taken me a while to get there. So we get this one here, which we said we'll try and find you one day in the mountains, is the Euphorbia avis montana. And that is our cacti, if I can put it in inverted commas with my fingers. But there we go. Sorry, Darby. I'm making camera work difficult this morning. So that would be a euphorbia. So no cacti that are indigenous to South Africa or Southern Africa that I know of. But often people think this belongs to the cactus family because of the structure of the leaves and branches. And also amazing desert adaptations in these cactus. If you look, I'm going to point at this one. You can see there it's got thorns and it's also got a wavy appearance. And that wavy appearance and those thorns actually help sort of channel and change the wind around it. And those grooves can also allow water to run down to feed the plant. And if the plant grows or needs to, can absorb more moisture, it uses those folds to expand. So very clever they can almost make their own little microclimate around them. And also having the least amount of surface area exposed in the heat of the day by all facing their branches upwards. So the unique thing about the euphorbias is that they can actually photosynthesize throughout that entire branch, as it were, because they are green. They have the photosynthesis happens right throughout the plant. Excuse me, I'll just turn that down. I can just hear the cicadas calling this morning. They started now. They weren't calling earlier, so it obviously is starting to heat up quite a bit. I'm going to try and put this one. Oops. I'm going to try and put him here, Darby. I hope that the wind doesn't blow him away. But you can see, got him there. And my ostrich feather, which is actually probably bigger than the cicada. So we have a nice cicada here. You can just see the large eye, and then I'm just going to hold it down, but you can actually see the claws and that on the feet, which will help it attach itself to the branch. This is called an ecdysis, when an insect, oh, there we go, perfect, there we go. I knew the ostrich feather was good for something. Oh, no, cooperate, come. Let me try that. Oh, I've split him now. If I pin him down there, okay, great. Now we finally have a cooperative ecdysis. And you can see how once the cicada grows, it actually splits the carapace across the back and then would crawl out. and once it's dried itself off, then it's able to carry on with its day. But that is an ecdysis of a cicada. So they're just making a lot of noise at the moment. It's a really, really nice summer sound. But the cicadas, quite interestingly enough, this is the adult stage. Sometimes for cicadas it can be that they live in the adult stage for a couple of days, sometimes a couple of weeks, and others they can live as sort of a larvae underneath the ground for almost 20 years up until they're ready to emerge. So when you're hearing that, they're only singing to mate. They're not doing any feeding, they're not doing anything like that. They're literally emerging to find a mate to breed for the next generation. And then that larvae that's buried underneath the soil will take, it can be 10, 20 years, some of them, depending on the species, before they will then emerge or be big enough to emerge as an adult. Before he blows away, can keep him there. So yesterday, we were sort of half showing you our tortoise, and I think I'd like to sort of just carry on with what we were showing you for the tortoise, because we got a signal issue. So we were talking with if I hold a chair, Darby, is that fun? That's great. So also pointing out the bony plates, how they actually merge together with those little teethy areas, so they almost slot into each other. And then I'm going to turn it over. This was a piece of a leopard tortoise. We don't know how this one died, and we don't know how it got broken into lots of little pieces, but the only one that I would say that would be strong enough to break it into pieces would be a hyena, or just a long time out and things get brittle and things get old. And then this would be called the scoot, the sort of like nice covering with the camouflage colors. And I'm going to turn it again, and you can actually just see, if I make that noise, you can see it's like a really, really hard, I want to say a hard plastic, but just to give you an idea of what that scoot sounds like. So it's almost like a papery, we called them the roof tiles yesterday, a scoot. And then you would know the tortoise's age based on looking at the sort of mountains and valleys on here. So Mike's got something interesting to show you. We're going to send you across there, and then we're going to move on and see if we can find you something else.
We left those buffaloes, and we've come in Ndlovu Dam, which is the closest large body of water to them. Just watching these Egyptian geese pruning themselves at the edge of the dam itself. Nothing else around at the moment. It's always nice to watch. It does look like rain is coming. I see the very grey, soft-looking sky. You can't really see individual clouds anymore, just generally a sign that there's rain falling in the distance. So as we wait here, we'll keep an eye out to see whether the rain reaches us. But hopefully we'll be able to stick out here and see what else is around. These geese were very talkative a moment ago, now being very quiet. No goslings anymore. The dam. There were 6 of them at one stage. It seems they've all been one by one, which is a real shame. But they will produce another clutch, I'm sure, and do much better. It's often the case with many parent animals. The first time they lay eggs or raise youngsters doesn't really go so well, but subsequent, clutches generally do better and better as the parents learn more and more how to look after themselves. There's another bird just in front of them. It's called a blacksmith lapwing, which is being a little bit more active, running around and trying to, you see it there, so just underneath it there, running around trying to, that are moving about in the mud. So we had a lot of rain, about 55 mils of rain. What is that? 2 inches of rain fell, this mud and cause it all to start growing. And mud, vegetation and warm weather, that a lot of insect activity, which is what this little wader is looking for. And it's going to be moving frequently up and down this mud until it starts to rain, which might be very soon.
So we have found some of that wild cucumber. So there's actually quite a lot. There's one here, one here. There's a flower. I'm not too sure if Darby's got them. This angle might be wrong with the vehicle, but there's another one, another two here, another one there. So these, they're not ripe yet. They will go towards more of a yellow when they're ripe. And inside, that's got lots and lots of little seeds, but they're quite bitter in taste. So definitely don't want to eat one of those. I'm not that brave on TV. And they're not ripe yet. But the animals will use them as a nice moisture package, and by consuming that, then the seeds go through the system and get deposited somewhere else. I don't know, can you see here, Darby, there's actually quite an interesting little pattern, and I didn't draw it with my own finger. Can you see it? No. So there's just literally like a child has taken a finger and done a little wiggly stripe like that. But he's come all the way here, and then he's turned, and he's gone all the way back. That's a pattern of a thread snake, but not too easy to see. I think it's on the downhill slope there. But it looks literally like a child can wiggle his finger sort of through the sand, just making sort of a wavy motion. We chatted, so the other day we saw you close to the Dune bush here. This is the Dune bush. This one isn't in flower yet. We were seeing them when we were on the other side the other day with a beautiful white and yellow flower, but this one hasn't decided to flower yet. Just look at that scenery though. Such a beautiful, beautiful landscape. So we in one of the dunes. We've just crested over the dune and we're heading down into a dune street. So Peter is commenting on so many stunning flowers out there. You're absolutely correct. This is the best time of the year for flowers. Darby, I've got a Dune bush flower here, so we can show everybody what we're talking about. It's very, very pretty. But we have to have good rains. And so far, so good for the Kalahari, because we keep getting these thundercloud bursts. Yesterday, Darby and I, we ran home with our tail between our legs because that 30% chance of rain turned into 100% chance of rain. We were driving through one of the valleys, and we both saw the lightning hit open blue sky. It was literally just this flash of light. It hit the mountain, but the storm was behind us. So we both looked at each other. We were like, open vehicle, probably not. And that was the reason why we closed down yesterday, is because we were in the brink of a lightning storm, and we actually had really, really good rains last night. And now there's not a cloud in the sky. Let me see what else is been here. So we've just come over the dunes and we saw some tracks of some giraffe, some wildebeest, and the gemsbok will eat these. The gemsbok, the brown hyena. We're waiting still to see another plant called the Djuma melon, which is almost like a bowling ball, but not a big bowling ball. What would be, if the lawn bowls, that would be about the right size of a Djuma melon, about that big. And they do sort of green with little yellow spotted pattern on it. And that one, when that comes out, then the animals will use that as a nice moisture package. Just I can hear all the birds still calling. Little fawn-coloured larks. What? Red-crested korhan. Musa is asking, are all the plants edible for the animals? No, they're not. Some are actually toxic. This Dune bush that you've just had a look at, the white flower, is actually toxic to animals. If they eat it in this stage that it's green and they consume a lot of it, they can get what's called crotallariosis. The plant itself is known as a crotalaria, and the sort of the illness or the effect of eating too many of those toxins is known as crotallariosis, where almost like the ligament area in the foot gets swollen. It alters the way that the hoof meets the ground, and then their toes start growing, their hooves actually start growing upwards in a really, really strange shape. There's a brown veined white that's coming to that flower. Oh, no, it's left. He was on his way. There's so many brown veined whites at the moment, and I'm just going to quickly get a picture here that I printed out. One of the guides saw. I think I'm going to try and hold it still for... Oh no, this might not work. Okay, so what works better? That. Okay, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it still and try not to get my shadow in it. But we've been talking about a lot of the brown veined whites and the caterpillars. So there's a mud wasp that makes this very, very interesting nest. So this nest was unfortunately made on a canvas roof of a car over a period of a couple of days while the car was stationary, and when it was driving, it fell off the roof. So it unfortunately chose an unnatural environment to put the nest on, and the result was that Kerry, one of our guides, she took this picture, and I thought I had to print it out to be able to show you, because it's the most amazing thing. So this wasp has gone to collect a caterpillar. She's stung that caterpillar, and she's almost effectively paralyzed it. She hasn't killed it because she still needs time for the egg to hatch. So she makes a chamber. I'm going to use this one, for example. She makes a chamber. She stuffs in a couple, she lays an egg. You can see there, I'll show you a zoomed in version shortly. She lays an egg on the side chamber wall, and she goes and she collects caterpillars. She stings them, she paralyzes them, she actually flies with them. It's the most amazing thing to see. The caterpillar's almost as long as she is. She flies with it, she brings it back, she stuffs it in there, and she goes and she fetches 1 or 2. We see here she's averaging 4 per chamber of caterpillars, and she's then left that egg a meal provision. So as soon as that egg hatches after a couple of days, it will then start feeding off those caterpillars, which are effectively been put in a fridge. They've been paralyzed, so they're still alive, but they're immobile. And by keeping them in that state of paralysis, the food remains fresh. So I'm going to just pop that one. And most of those caterpillars will be from the brown veined white. So then I took that same picture and I just zoomed in so you can actually see the egg attached to the side of the mud wall. And the patterning here is because of the canvas roof. But she's gone and collected mud at the waterhole, flown 1 pellet at a time. You can imagine this is a tiny little insect, probably no more than 4 centimeters in size. She's gone all the way, she's flown to a mud wallow, she's flown all the way back to the nest with navigation. How she navigates to get to the exact same place every single time, I don't know. And as she does that, she closes off the chamber, but she'll leave a little hole, stuff in her caterpillar, she would have laid her egg, and then she closes that off. It's, nature is just absolutely amazing. So as we go, we'll actually try and find you the live versions of these. Jenna is saying that is so cool. I find it so amazing, and the sheer fact that you can actually see the caterpillars, the egg, it is amazing. Unfortunately, she just chose the wrong place to make her nest. So she would have had, what she had there, 5 chambers on that one. So each one would have had 1 egg in it. Just amazing. And thanks to Kerry for sharing that photograph, because it's definitely going to stay in my little library to use for future. So insects. Okay, So FC has just told me that it's been raining everywhere else. So our forecast is no rain, which means you get to stay with Davy and I for a little bit. So we're going to do a little bit of a drive, so join us for a nice slow drive through the dunes, and if we see things, I'll point it out as we go, but we'll try and see if we can find a nice flowery spot. And maybe we'll look for those brown-veined white caterpillars. We have to find a boskia tree. Once we find the larval food plant of that tree, then we should be successful at finding a couple of those caterpillars live. But here at Tswalu, these dune streets from the mountains heading out all the way west, which is behind us, there's about 9 of these dunes. So we drop off the dune into what we call a street, and then we keep going up and over to get to those concrete pans that we went to the other day. So is asking if caterpillars have any way to escape. No, they don't in that situation, because the wasp has actually paralyzed them, so they're not able to escape once they've been encased in that muddy cocoon. I'm going to hop off while Davy frames up. So there's a camel thorn, the taller tree, and then to the right of that camel thorn is a raisin bush, and that raisin bush, perfect. So the raisin bush, the brown-veined whites are busy on the raisin bush. They'll also use this as a larval food plant, but also a nectar for themselves. So they're getting the nectar out of the flowers. So there's just a mass emergence of these brown-veined whites over literally the last week and a bit, since we've had really good rains. And from here, once they've done their mating and breeding, they actually start migrating all the way across South Africa towards Johannesburg, and it's a movement of over 3,000 kilometers. So an amazing feat for something so papery thin. But I don't want to go too close to the bush if I don't want to chase them away. Have you got something in frame there? Okay. So the brown-veined whites, you can tell the male from the female by having a look. Maybe, Davy, this one on the ground. I don't know if you can see the wing. So I just want, it's actually stationary on the ground. So that one shows you a nice wing. When the wings are open like that, you see just close to the eye, you go up the edge of the wing and you get to that little comma. It's literally just like a little black comma on the wing. In the males, it's a very small comma, and the black markings on the wings are much thinner. And then the female has a much bigger comma, and her black markings are much bigger. So he actually just flew off after a female. She just happened to fly past, and she just zipped off. He zipped off after her, chasing her. So it's just really, really pretty. You can hear those cicadas. I think I saw something. I don't know if you're going to see him. Let me just go. I see the cicada that he's landed, Dave, but I don't know if you're going to get him. I've just seen a cicada land. I'm going to try and get Dave in there, but I don't know if there's a leaf in the way. So you see the top branch? Have you got him? No. Just seen him land, and that's like, and jump up and bring it to come down. Oh no, let me see if I can see another one then. So the cicadas are just so busy. Oh, there is one there. See the tallest one? If you come down the main stem on that sunny part, I can't see. I'm trying to find the cicadas. I can hear them and I'm starting to see them, but not enough for Davy to get them in camera. So we'll just have a look here and see if we can find any caterpillars. No, nothing there. No, I can see them, but unfortunately you can't at that angle. It's quite difficult. So we'll have a look here. This one here, it's a brown. the average height of a blackthorn is, sort of just under your armpits and down, and quite a nasty little thing with lots of little hooked thorns. And you can see the nice seed pods, the papery seed pods. I'm going to try and get, maybe I'm lucky. Okay, there we go. I'll put it down here, so it doesn't go away. So that is the 2 little seeds on average. It's 2, sometimes 3 of the seeds attached to the inside of the papery seed pod. And once that seed pod is dry, it will split open, and those will wave in the wind, sometimes even fall off the tree and get carried further on the wind for the seeds to be deposited somewhere else. Let's see. That one's not in flower, but you can see, maybe you can, I just keep making my shadow on the, so here's an example of a mistletoe inside this tree. So you can see the difference between the leaves, and automatically you know there's something going on here. This mistletoe, this one over here would be the mistletoe. This particular one is called a tapinanthus. It makes like a matchstick shape, a beautiful pink flower. And the mistletoes would have been put there by a bird, because the mistletoes themselves have like a little red berry, like a very, very sticky seed. And as it eats the fleshy part of the seed, it tends to get stuck to the outside of the beak. As soon as the bird lands somewhere, it wants to clean its beak. It wipes it on the branch and then deposits that seed onto the branch. And the mistletoe will then get its roots. It's called a hemiparasite. And it'll get its roots into the main stem of the tree, and it will steal nutrients from the tree. So it's got its own leaves, so it's capable of photosynthesizing for itself, which is why they call it a hemiparasite. So it's not solely relying on the tree, but it's using the tree as a support structure, and then also stealing the sort of minerals and water from the tree, but it's producing its food itself by being able to photosynthesize itself. And the Bushman people, or the local people, would have used those seeds of the mistletoe to make like a bird lime. Nando's comment is, I love nature. Me too. Because there's just so many things to see. Every day is different. We never know. When we walk out the door in the morning, we never know what we're going to get. So with these, I was talking about the Bushmen making like a bird lime. What they would do is they would take those really, really sticky seeds and mash them into a pulp, and then they'd go to a common perching spot of a bird where they'd know the birds would regularly perch. They smear what they would call bird lime, but it's actually the mistletoe seed. They'd smear that over the branches, and when the bird lands, it actually gets stuck. It's almost like a glue. It gets stuck onto that, and they could then harvest that bird for a meal. Remember, they were living sustainably, so they would only catch what they could eat, and that was how the sand bushmen survived in these areas, and digging up things like bulbs, roots, tubers. Maybe they had a better use for a bitter melon than I can. I'm sure they had all sorts of recipes. Now we just rely on what Nigella and all of them show us how to cook. But it is always nice to know what all of these would be used for. I hear the barking gecko, but I can't see him. Anyway, let's carry on moving through the dune, because we'll see what we can find. So that wasn't a larval food plant. It just seems like those butterflies are there for the nectar reward on the flowers of that raisin. Oh, don't stall the car. There we go. So some sometimes driving through the dunes can be quite a challenge because as it heats up and as you go towards winter, the sand gets very loose, it loses its moisture and heavy structure, so it starts to fall apart and become a bit more like trying to drive on the beach. So we have to keep our tire pressures really, really low. We're only on about 1.6 bar to keep our tire pressures low enough to drive through some of these sandy areas. You're probably going to have to hold on tight when we start heading up that dune because we're going to see we've got to get up to the top to get up and over the view, and I can see some really nice grey camel thorns and silver cluster leaves. They typically like the sandy areas on the top of the dunes, but we're pretty much going through like a blackthorn thicket. So blackthorn thickets, we would look for kudu, nice place for, oh, I just hit a tree stump and it threw all the sand up at me. So, are you ready? You're holding on tight. Seatbelts on. Oh, there's some more mole rat activity there. So, I hope I don't mess this up and then we get stuck halfway up the dune and then it really looks bad for TV. Hold on, Darby. It's a little bit bouncy. Got to change gears. Go fast enough. Hold on, we're nearly there. But wait for the view to reveal itself. And are you ready? There it comes. So I just... Oh, Corey busted. Oh, 5. Wow. Darby and I have been dying to find the Corey bustards in the open areas, and I'm not even sure those are Corey bustards. I think they're definitely bustards. I'm just waiting for them to turn. Wow. So the bustards... No, they're not. Wow. They're a different species of bustard. I just want to double check in my book. The darker neck definitely makes them something else. Oh, I've lost my bird book. There we go. So those Corey bustards... Well, no, they're not Corey bustards. They are bustards, but I'm going to get you exactly which one, and then I'm going to show you a picture because they were flying, so it was quite difficult. Okay, so let me just quickly check, Darby, and then we'll drive forward. But what a surprise! Look at that view, and then we come over, and there's 5 of them. That's amazing, and I was expecting Corey bustards, but those were Ludwig's bustards. So I'm going to try and hold it still. So this one over here, you could see that much darker color on the neck and slightly smaller in size. So the Corey bustard, the one in the middle of the page, being the largest and the biggest, which we do get here, and then the Ludwig's bustard, which we see occasionally. That's my first one for here, and they definitely are smaller, but let's go and see if we can get you a better view. Darby saw where they landed, so let's go forward. Oh, see the little... That was a very nice surprise coming over the dunes. They'd be looking for insects, so they'd move around, things, snakes, lizards, reptiles, insects. That's what they're foraging for. And they also eat the Corey bustard, or the bustards, also eat vegetative matter, which is quite interesting. You wouldn't expect such a big bird to be partial vegetarian. Where are we looking? Because let me just go past this little thicket. We might actually get them out in the open clearing. I wouldn't mind another look at them myself because I haven't seen them here before. But the Corey bustard are much, much bigger. And the Corey bustard belonging to sort of about 17, 18 kilograms, so the heaviest flying bird. So these ones would be just a little bit smaller. I'm looking for them. They must have landed in the open area somewhere. If any of the viewers can see them, please let us know. I don't see them. In these open plains, under some of these trees, we would expect to find some springbuck, maybe even some gemsbok or oryx. Okay, oh yes, I got them, I see them. So, Joy's got a new bird. Nice. So add it to your list. They're there in the distance. They're quite far away from us, but fortunately with Darby's camera work, you can see them quite clearly. But you can see that darker head, much smaller in size, is Ludwig's Bustard. So they'd be moving together, most likely a family group, most likely a male and a female, and some youngsters. We do have a road going in that general direction, so we're gonna take that and see if we can get another slightly closer view. But as you look at these areas, those small little short plants that we're seeing quite a lot of are the eland bean. So it's not called an eland bean because the eland antelope eat it. It's just called an eland bean because it makes a really, really large seed pod. So we'll see if we can find you one of those seed pods. And they're also flowering at the moment. It's another one of those plant species that is toxic to animals. So they choose not to eat it. But it has taken over some of these open clearings. Maybe around the next one or two bends there, Darby, we do land up a little bit closer. So that's why you join us for safari. You never know what you're going to see.
We are back. It is still raining, it is still wet, and I am still soggy, but we're back. We're back in the game. We're probably not going to get very far today, but we have spotted a butterfly, which is a rather unusual sighting for a rainy, cold day. Now, it's not the best visuals, but you can see it's sort of diagonally sitting on this plant here. I don't want to turn on my engine because as soon as I turn it on, it's probably going to fly away if it's got enough energy to do so. Now, it's either a monarch, an African monarch, one of the sort of more iconic species out here. Not the same monarch butterfly that you get in North America that makes the Great Migration, but it's the African monarch. Or it could be the common diadem. Now, why I say that, for those of you that are not too sure about butterflies, they they have something called mimicry, and there's lots of mimicry throughout the animal kingdom. It's a fascinating topic, and butterflies, especially the monarch and the diadem, they have a great way of mimicking each other. So mimicry is basically a phenomenon that sort of evolved as, let's say, a survival strategy. So to survive when the females of a particular species are really palatable. And when they're really palatable, they want to mimic an unpalatable species. So that's their defense. They know that they're yummy and juicy and delicious and all the predators want them. So what they're going to do is mimic an unpalatable one. How fascinating is that?
So, welcome back to Tswalu. Those Ludwig's Bustards decided to fly off. So we finally found a boskia tree, so a shepherd's tree, with a hive of activity with the brown-veined whites on it. They moved on, Darby. What are we on now? So we're just on the tree, but when you look at the tree, you can actually see this hive of activity. You can see that the caterpillars of these brown-veined white have practically stripped most of the leaves off the edges, and they've gone into the cocoon phase, and the little chrysalises are everywhere. So if I just want to point them out, there's just 1, 2, 3, 4. They're just all over the place, but I can maybe get one here that's finished. Oh, they're so fragile. Oh, no, this one's going to break. Oh, here we go. I'll hold it for you. This one's already emerged. Okay, so they pop out the top, and then on their way out, the last week when I was with Carl, we were actually watching these emerge live on TV. It was absolutely amazing. And as soon as they'd come out, they'd have like a little droplet that would come out that would be like a red droplet. And some of them, you can see there, that red droplet almost stained the inside of what was left of the chrysalis. So that has been what's been happening in the last week. We're now going to let it go, and then we can see. I'm not seeing many caterpillars. I wanted to show you the caterpillars that those wasps keep finding, but loads and loads of chrysalis is still left. So there's a couple of them that still need to emerge. So they'll go through that metamorphosis stage of going from a caterpillar and then changing and sort of restructuring in order to become the butterfly before emerging. And then, pop out, go look for nectar reward on things like those raisin bushes. Oh, there's actually a camel thorn in the background there. But I mean, I just can't believe at how much these caterpillars have eaten. Just look at this one, how they've stripped it. The tree probably feels quite naked at the moment. I can't see one caterpillar. They're all in cocoons already. No. Oh, I got a cicada. Davy, are you ready? So it's on this back branch here. You go down the stem. I'm going to pull this one in front down so that the cicada can be in the TV. You see him there? Yay! We got a cicada on TV, stationary. See him there. So that cicada is just, so the cicada shell that I showed you is looks a bit different to this one. So there are lots of different species. Oh, don't break the tree. I didn't mean to break the tree, but I'm just holding it down for Davy to show you. So really large eyes at the top, and then the wings folded over and very well camouflaged, which is why we hardly ever see them. And that sound that they make, it's almost like they're ventriloquists, because you can't pinpoint them exactly. Welcome back. We're going to send you across to Lauren with her butterflies.
It's not the best visuals, but we can still see it. It's definitely the African monarch. And just to sort of expand on what I was saying earlier, bright color patterns in nature generally serve as a warning to predators. Hey, I'm poisonous or unpalatable, don't eat me. Whether it's the truth or not, lots of organisms don't tell the truth. It serves as a warning. That's the sort of fundamental purpose of having bright colours. And this serves throughout the animal kingdom, not just insects, but amphibians and reptiles as well. So with African monarchs and the diadem, I'll show you a photo of both in just a moment. They use a form of mimicry. There's different forms called Batesian. And what that means is that the sort of model, which is the monarch, is unpalatable. It doesn't have that many predators. It contains toxins, so that means it's unpalatable. So the mimic in this case is the diadem, is pretending to be unpalatable, but that's not the case. It doesn't contain toxins and it is in fact palatable, but it doesn't want to get eaten by the predators. It doesn't want the predators to know that it's actually delicious and yummy and completely edible. So it's pretending, it's taking on the appearance, not 100% exact, but it's taking on the appearance to look like the unpalatable species, which is the model, which is the monarch. So that's what Batesian mimicry is. Now, there's another form of mimicry, slightly different. This is Mullerian mimicry. And what happens in this case, so there's lots of different sort of species that show this. The wanderer, the dusky acria. What they're trying to do is they're actually all, in fact, unpalatable. Every species in this sort of mimicry pattern, they're all unpalatable. And they're called co-mimics, and what they're trying to do is increase their benefits, increase their numbers, so there's lots of similar looking species, and therefore they're all unpalatable, and they're all serving the warning to predators together because they look the same. If they all look different, that would decrease their benefits. A predator's not going to necessarily remember all the different species. And if at least all the species look similar, then the predator will know that warning. Those black and white butterflies, they are unpalatable. Even if it's many different butterflies that are black and white, it will say, I'm not going to eat them. No way. The last time I ate them, I got a really upset tummy. So that's the sort of two main mimicries that you'll find in butterflies. But there's lots of different forms of mimicry throughout the animal kingdom, and it's fascinating to try and look like another species to serve a purpose for your own selfish benefits. It's amazing, really. Oh, we've got a yellow hornbill over here. Are you able to get it from here, Simon, or is the wonderful rain roof that we all love so much in the way? Here we go. Nothing stops you guys, does it? No, you're always hungry. You see it looking, tilting its head? Very sharp eyesight. And they tilt their head to get a keener sort of visual perspective of what's going on in the ground to look for the smallest of insects. Banana birds. Flying bananas. You'll actually find them on the vehicles every morning in our vehicle bay. Why? Because it's filled with insects. The insects all swarm our vehicle bay because there's lights. We keep the lights on for safety. We need to ensure that there's lights in case anybody's walking in the dark. And they all are attracted to the light. And of course, it's dry, it's sheltered, it's warm. And tons of insects. So we have resident hornbills. They're actually the red bills, and they come and just eat up all the insects from our vehicle bay. Has he disappeared? Oh, there you go. Rizal, you're asking this bird. This is the yellow-billed hornbill. And you're asking, is it monogamous? Aha, monogamy in birds. It's a very complicated question, but I'll go with the sort of technical answer because I'm sure that's what you're after. And yes, they are said to be monogamous. And the female actually seals herself inside a tree cavity using her own feces, just delightful, leaving only the narrowest of slits, so small, for the male to just pop the tip of his beak in and feed her. So she seals herself in with poop. So the male assists in bringing up the offspring as well. That's paternal care right there. So 90% of all bird species are said to exhibit a monogamous social structure. But really, are they? There's been some wonderful discoveries in science. I'm reading a fantastic book at the sheer horror when you do DNA testing. So you have a monogamous pair that you've been following, and I'm guessing this is in captivity. They're able to test the parents and then test the offspring, the chicks. I think the woodland kingfisher is after some airtime here. And lo and behold, the yellow-billed hornbill looks shocked. Yes, you're not all monogamous. No, the chicks do not have the same DNA as the parents. Of course, they do the mother, but not the father. What's been going on there? Yes, this is called extra-pair copulations. Both males in monogamous pairings are said to do this, and the females. So they sneak away from their partner when maybe the partner is not looking or the partner's resting, and they will mate with others. Isn't that just incredible? Happens in fish as well. There's a species of angelfish that is notorious. They're monogamous. Makes a lot of sense for reef fish, maybe not pelagic fish, to be in monogamous pairings. And they have to spend a lot less energy advertising and trying to find the ladies in the vast, big, bad ocean. And when the female is resting or possibly not paying attention, the male sneaks off for what I do not know the scientific name, but I can only describe as group sexual activity. Yes, we've got some woodlands over here. I'm sure you know what I'm trying to say here, but I do not know the correct term. You see the woodland kingfisher, Simon? Somewhere there. So yes, that's the angelfish. They're not angels, are they? No, not angels at all. That is not a good name for those fish. Well done, Simon. Okay. So I'm going to just stay local, see what we can find here. We are going to send you across to Andrew, who's going to give you a wonderful silent segment. Just like that. That was one miserable Wahlberg's eagle. I think it was the female. She is not in the mood to be on camera. She heard Gwyn say, live, and off she flew. So, there you have it. We shall keep bumbling to see what else we can find on this very rainy day. I do have my hood up, apologies, but it is just far too rainy. We do have another bird there. It's also not going to settle. Apparently there was cheetah up north on the Manguleti boundary, so we were going to race up there, but they've crossed into Manguleti. So we need even more traverse now, as if we don't have enough already. I think it's going to be rainy all day. It's that sort of rain that we would call drizzle, but it's constant. There's not been a gap. You can see the clouds are very dark, so I don't really know what we're in store for the rest of the day, but we shall do our best. Rain is what's needed here. We've not experienced anything like we experienced last year. Last year, the rains for possibly, as far as I can remember, about a week were absolutely constant. They did not let up, and it was incredibly heavy downpour. And that was what caused almost to the point of the dams bursting. The dams were so full, there was a lot of worry among lodges and among sort of landowners and the people in the area, the stakeholders, that some of the dams would burst. They were that full, and that's definitely what we don't want. But this year we haven't experienced that yet. There's definitely not been that much rainfall so far. And I think that's a good thing, although of course rain is necessary here. That's what summer is all about. The vegetation's waiting for it, the animals are waiting for it, the soil's waiting for the moisture. The dams are still very, very full. Maya, no, not all the dams are man-made. Not all of them are. When we use the word dam, it's normally natural. Oh, hello, guinea fowl. This is a guinea fowl party. What are you all doing? Helmeted guinea fowl up ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. So yes, when we use the word dam, we're normally referring to a natural water body that's probably been made over time from geological erosion or weathering or just the general topography of the land. But most dams in the area have been reinforced. So they're natural, fundamentally, but humans have sort of came in just to give them some structural integrity and just reinforce the land, because erosion continues and continues, and we don't want the sort of dam walls to break or the dams to burst. So most of the dams are natural and with a little bit of reinforcement, whereas when we use the word pan, that's normally a man-made human structure. It's normally very small and is pumped with fresh water. And the sort of purpose, it has a few... Oh, is this a dragonfly? Sorry, I'm getting very distracted here. Bear with me. Yes, it is. Are you ready for a challenge, Simon? I hope you can do this. If you just go to about 11 o'clock, I'll direct you. I hope the pole doesn't get in the way. Okay, he's asking me to go forward. I'm not sure we'll get it if we go forward, Simon, but we can try. Can you get it from here? Okay, let's try. Got a beautiful dragonfly, also doing exactly what the butterfly was doing. I'll direct you. Yes, so if you just zoom in around here. Up a little bit. I'm pointing, there we go. To the left a little bit. There we go. Just in the frame on the left. A dragonfly holding on for dear life. Now, the pans. So normally the pans are pumped because of two reasons. One, when we've had drought, if we've had a summer of drought and there's not been enough water, the pans then provide a really reliable sort of source of fresh water for all the animals out here. Animals require water, everybody requires water. So that's why the pans were pumped. But there's also a twofold sort of explanation. And pans can actually be used in a conservation technique. And let's just use the northern sector of the Sabi Sands as an example. So let's just say we've got Djuma, Tortoise, Chitwa, and Little Gowrie, and we've all got pumped pans. The animals will know exactly where the pans are. They can smell water, and your top predators will also memorize where the water is. A lot of your carnivores set up territories around permanent water bodies. Now, say we're having trouble with elephants, and the elephant populations are unsustainable for the area. They're doing a lot of damage we maybe want to try and redirect them to protect the land, protect the soil, just give a little bit of a rest to specific areas. You can close water points. So if you take Galagopan and we need to just conserve the area, protect the area for a little while, you can shut off the water point. And that will encourage all the animals, especially slightly destructive ones like elephants, to then go elsewhere and maybe focus their attention on torchwood. Then torchwood is normally done in a rotation pattern. Torchwood can then close their water, this is very hypothetical, can close their water pan, and it will encourage all the animals to then maybe spend more time on Chitwa. So it's a rotation of water point closures that just help conserve the area. So that's sort of a twofold explanation. But dams are normally natural, pans are man-made. What a gorgeous shot. Short, fat body, definitely a dragonfly. And I can't even see the legs. It almost looks like it's just hovering. Well done, Simon. I think we may stay here and admire our dragonfly a little bit longer.
Welcome to my car. This is Wendy, and she's my favorite. She would love to have your name engraved on her so you can be with her every single time she goes on a safari here in Djuma. If you become a WildEarth explorer, you will have the opportunity to buy an engraved tag which we will attach to her. We will make sure to send you a digital picture to show you exactly where you are sitting on her. You will have front row seat in every single sighting.
Guys, just watch what's happening. See, watch the elephant, watch the lions. See, the first ones to run are the cubs. Can you see them? They are right here. I'm not sure how scared you were, but I was quite nervous. But absolutely incredible.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily. Have you been watching WildEarth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. WildEarth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live WildEarth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Sorry about that, everyone. Simon has managed to get us an even closer macro of this dragonfly. Look at the detail. I'm not going to move too much because he's probably right at the end of the lens. Isn't that stunning? You can see the fine detail of the scales on the wings. They're equal in length, the four wings. And it's using its 6 legs, insects. Mostly all the insects have 6 legs. If they have 8, then you're looking at an arachnid, not an insect. It's using all 6 legs to cling onto this tiny little branch here. Just like the butterfly, they're solar powered. They're insects, they're ectotherms. It's not sunny enough. Megan, yes, beautiful little creature indeed. One of my favorites. When you really learn about their biology and their history, they're ancient. ancient organisms. Yes, they've changed, they've evolved throughout time. They've got a lot smaller, that's for sure. But they're just stunning and incredible at being dragonflies. Now, all insects are invertebrates, so that means that they don't have a backbone. We are vertebrates. One of my favorite things in the world is cracking my back, but yes, I don't know if I'm supposed to do that or not, but we definitely have a backbone. And with insects, their skeletons on the outside is an exoskeleton, not an endoskeleton. We have an endoskeleton, it's on the inside, we can't see it. We know it's there, it helps us move, but with insects, it's on the outside. And the skeletons can't be too heavy. Otherwise, insects would never be able to fly. It would be impossible if it was like an armor of steel. So the skeletons have to be hard to protect the inners of the insect, the organs and everything inside. It also has to be light. So normally the outermost surface that you're actually looking at right now on the body of this dragonfly is covered in a layer of wax. Very, very sort of light wax. And this helps protect the insects against its greatest fear. Yes, an insect's greatest fear is dehydration, water loss. So although we can't see it, the exoskeleton, which is hard, is protected in a layer of wax. And most insects, because they're so small, generally speaking, they have a really large surface area relative to their tiny volume. And what that means is that they're at high risk of losing water molecules through evaporation. We talk about evaporative cooling a lot when we see the cats panting or the birds gular fluttering. But insects can also lose moisture through evaporation. And it would leave them, well, as dead as a dried fish. That's exactly what would happen if they lost all their moisture. And that's why the waxy layer is so crucial to insect survival. You'll need to repeat that, Gwen. I did not get that question. Look at it holding on. You can see his legs, you can see it clinging on to the branch. I did not get that name, but I think the question was, is it true dragonflies lead to leopards? I have no idea what that means. I have never heard that before. Is it true that dragonflies lead to leopards? I'm not even sure I can expand on that. I've honestly never heard that saying before, that dragonflies lead to leopards. I can't even think what that means. I'm sorry. I failed to answer that question. I've really never heard of it before.
What is fishing and drive?
Everyone's coming back out now that the rains have sort of subsided. That radio is going to start going once again. No more peace and quiet for us. Julia, yes, the detail in the wings. It's not often we get to see this. Because dragonflies, when it's warm and when it's sunny, they rarely stay still. We've had some very entertaining segments trying to watch the dragonflies. But because I don't think this one's got enough energy, it's probably wet, it's drying off and waiting for the sun to pop out. It might be waiting quite some time, but yes, that's why we're getting such a close-up. You can see there's hair on the body there as well. The wings are made up of scales. Just like butterflies, also made up of scales. So beautiful. The bodies are divided into three if you're an insect. 3 different segments. We've got the head, which is obviously the front part, and it contains the insect's sensory center, if you like. Then you have the midsection, which is the thorax, and that's pretty much like the insect's transport center, because this segment is pretty much dominated by muscles, which is needed to power the wings and the legs. So the wings and all 6 legs are attached to the thorax, the transport center. And it is worth noting that unlike other creatures that can glide and fly, bats, birds, squirrels, even flying fish, insect worm wings are not purposed that way. They're not repurposed arms or legs. They're completely separate little motor devices. And the last section is the abdomen, but we'll come back to that later. For now, we're going to send you across for another delightful silent segment with Andrew. termite mound. No termites, I'm afraid. It's a very small one, which is why I've came here. That is something rather creepy. But I'm going to sit down next to it because I think when you live out here and you drive out here, you sort of forget the importance of these mounds. They're actually called termitaries officially, but I think they're more like fortresses. Now, although there's no animals, I'm sure Simon's going to do a wonderful job of just giving you a closer look of this mound. This mound is built by a minuscule insect. Minuscule, and this is one of the smaller mounds that we have out here. Moisture, saliva, and sand. That's the construction materials that these tiny little insects make. Now, it looks solid, and it feels solid, but actually it's completely porous. And although there's holes, we'll come to them, the walls themselves are completely porous to allow air to go in. And what happens is there's a circulation system, a ventilation system, and a circulation system. So inside there's a lot of activity going on in here. We just can't see it. So air is coming in through the pores. It's very porous. And just as we always say, cold air sinks, warm air rises. So the air is going to come in from the environment and it's going to be colder than the environment in here. So the cold air is then going to start sinking to the bottom, pushing the warm air to rise and come out through the chimney. Now, once that cold air has been sitting down at the bottom a while, all the activities going on down there is going to be warmer. So that cold air is going to heat up. That cold air is then going to rise. Other cold air is going to come in and sink. And it's this constant circulation process. One, it's hygienic. They need fresh oxygen. Two, it helps maintain the temperature. So circulation and ventilation. And the entire mound needs to be at a constant temperature because there's so much going on in here. There's lots of tunnels, passages, areas. There's the royal cell where the king and queen live. Now, the king and queen are the only reproductive members of the colony, the only ones that can be produced. The others cannot, they're sterile. You have the workers and the soldiers. Now, these alates that we see streaming from the holes, sometimes you'll see all of these winged termites streaming out. That's the future kings and queens. The only ones that can fly are the fertile ones, the fertile males, future kings, fertile females. And they fly. It doesn't matter if they fly half a meter or if they're able to go far using the wind. They can't really fly like birds, so they are propelled by the wind. As long as they just get away from their natal colony, they've dispersed, if you like, then they've done their job. They'll start a new colony. And what happens is the kings start to look for the queens. The males chase the females. But how are they going to find one another? It's a huge, vast landscape for a tiny little minuscule insect. So the queen, or the future queen, she's not a queen yet, she'll leave a signal. She'll leave some sort of scent that will waft. And as soon as a male, as soon as the king gets that chemical cue, there's a female, he needs to find her. And he will not rest until he finds that female that has left that chemical signal. Then you have the two of them together. Now, the minute they meet, they drop their wings. And it's so fast that the naked eye of the human doesn't see it happening. 1 minute they've got 4 beautiful wings, the next minute they've not got any way. I'm going to come back to the vehicle so that I can hear what's going on. And once they drop their wings, they mate, and a mating dance begins. Now I'm going to put my earpiece back on. I forgot that I don't have any communication, so I'm back in comms, Gwen. And yes, and that's it. They're the progenitors of the future race of the termites. That's how it works. And then they start their own colony. They mate, they fertilize, and she leaves all sorts of eggs behind, and that's the start of a new termite colony. How fascinating is that? Yes, I love termites very much. So we're going to continue bumbling around quarantine, and we're going to send you across to Deirdre with something interesting, apparently.
Location, location, location. That's what every good real estate agent tells you. And we found a porcupine burrow, but just look at where it is. It's just got this most amazing scene in amongst these blackthorns and the shepherd's trees with all the beautiful butterflies. It's got a little ant-eating chat on the top there. absolutely beautiful scene. So this porcupine has been living here for years, probably even multiple generations over time. The burrow down there, sort of the channel that Davy will show you with the camera, if I walked down there, it is taller than I am, or deeper, should I say, than I am tall, probably almost double. That's how many years this porcupine has been here. And it's even made sort of a furrow going in and out of this burrow. So we found, scratching around, we found a variety of different quills of the porcupine. So their quills it's a modified hair, and they would use them in defense, but a common misconception is that they shoot their quills. They're not able to shoot their quills. What they do is that they sort of contract their muscles and hold them out, and then reverse towards a potential attacker, and then hope to sort of stab it that way. So they don't shoot their quills, they just reverse. So I found enough quills here to actually make my own little porcupine. So from front, I just want to show you the flexibility. So the modified hair, all of these are modified hairs, but just on different positions on the porcupine. So this one, a little bit more flexible near the head, another one with a little bit more flexibility a little bit further back, and then you get the seriously, seriously dangerous ones. So if you pick up a porcupine quill, the broader end is the end that's attached to the body, and then the really, really sharp, spiky end is what they're hoping to poke an attacker with. Then you go right down to the lower quills at the tail, and some of them really, really tiny and very short. And even this little one, if I hold it, there's a tiny little hair still growing. Those are quills near the tail area, so much shorter at the base. And then this next quill on the end here, I actually cut open one of these quills. They're actually quite lightweight, and they're very hollow. And so I cut it open, and I just want to squeeze it so that I can show you how spongy they are. So it almost looks like it's filled with a polystyrene. So porcupines, if need be, almost have their own personal flotation device. Not that I've ever seen a porcupine swim, but they probably can use that to float. But that also, from a weight perspective, is one of the reasons why they will be hollow or sort of just like a light sponge on the inside. If you wanted to make a pen out of a porcupine quill, you'd cut off one of the ends, typically the more blunter end, and you take a hot steel wire and you put it down there. But remember that it will smell like burning hair, so it's not a very pleasant smell. But if you put that wire down that tube, you burn that sort of inner area, and then you'd be able to insert your pen in there. Darcy Ann is commenting that it is amazing how different all the quills are. Absolutely. So Davy and I said, well, if we wait here till afternoon drive and maybe going into the evening, this porcupine might come out. But definitely, ow! I just stabbed myself with a porcupine quill. Doctor, it's an emergency. So I've got here, because it's a little bit challenging, but they came out after the rains, so they've left all their tracks in and out. They're actually using an entrance around the back, and we can even see from the top, we can see right down into the burrow, and it almost looks like a tree root, that there's 4 or 5 different entrances coming into the one main entrance, and they're down there. But judging by the tracks around the den here in the soil from last night, they came out after the rain. There's quite a number of individuals that are living here, so quite likely a female and a couple of youngsters. And for the first little bit, the youngsters will actually go foraging with the parents. But I want to show you the porcupine track, a really, really nice track. This is pretty much life size, as it were, and a nice way to tell the front foot from the back foot is you literally just look. They've got 5 toes, but on the front foot, only the 4 digging claws that are slightly further ahead of the toe. And then on the back foot, they've actually got 5 claws. So you always just look for this outer digit that has... so this is the right hand. It's actually then the inner digit that has a claw, whereas the inner digit on the front foot doesn't have a claw. And their claws would be relatively sharp and blunt, but very, very good for digging. But just an amazing, amazing piece of real estate. I might keep these 2 pointers for future. They are quite handy, but just an amazing location. I've never seen a porcupine burrow this deep, with these grooves going in. It just shows you years and years of wear in and out, and sometimes you can even see the scraping lines of the quills catching the side of the burrow. But they've definitely been using this sort of sideways one as the entrance and the exit to the burrow. But absolutely stunning place. Maybe one night drive in the winter season. When they're coming out a little bit earlier, they'll come out in safari time. We'll come and wait here and see if it comes out. Just a stunning, stunning scene. I can't believe I poked myself with a porcupine quill. So I'm gonna see. There's also some really nice grasses starting to come up here. This is not the most palatable. It looks palatable. It looks like it's got nice leafy greens, but this is known as a sour grass. So sour grass meaning not that great in taste. And if animals eat too much of it, it almost starts burning their mouth. So not a choice grass species for them. The sour grass. Just gonna see this beautiful another raisin. Maybe I can see the porcupine. Maybe. Let me go and have a look. So he's even got. If I had to look all the way down, I'd probably say 8 meters at least down to the entrance of the burrow, and it's even exposed almost all the roots of that shepherd's tree. It's 8 meters worth of shepherd's tree roots just in sort of a network mixed going across the front entrance. They're probably fast asleep. I've probably woken them up with my loud voice. So we're going to say nighty night. They're probably still fast asleep. We're going to head on and see if we can find you something else.
So the rain has finally stopped at Ngala, and we decided to come out for the last little hour or so to see if we can find anything. And we decided to come out into this open area. It's a beautiful spot, and we thought that it might be a good idea just to stop and just give you the opportunity to listen to all of the birds calling now that the rain has stopped. So one of the interesting plants that I noticed here is right where BK is framed. And so this is actually it's a leadwood that's been pushed over, but on the left-hand side there's those little balls of yellow, and those are called flame lilies. And so those will turn to a bright red color, hopefully within the next weeks or so.
Our ant-eating chat has quite obligingly stayed in the exact same spot on the tree, so we're going to chat a little bit about her. They actually ground nesters, so they nest in aardvark burrows, or the conclusion I make right here is that there's quite likely a pair that's nesting somewhere in one of the walls of this burrow, because that's why they're here. It doesn't have to be an aardvark, it could be a springhair hole, some hole in the ground, but this porcupine's got such a nice real estate that most likely this particular ant-eating chat does have a nest in here, and she's also been sitting up there calling without moving too far, so that would suggest to me that there is a residence for her here as well. So ant-eating chats, the name sort of gives it away as to exactly what they eat. Predominantly ants in the summer season, and then as they shift towards the winter season, they will also feed on ants and termites. And for us out here at Tswalu, if we're looking in the daytime in the winter season for aardvark or pangolin, we will be looking out for the ant-eating chats, because they follow them while they're foraging, because the pangolins and the aardvark, once they've been feeding and maybe once those ants have given off a little bit of formic acid and start not tasting nice, after a while they move on, but they still leave that nest exposed, and the birds come in and utilize that as an opportunity for finding food. The pair tends to be monogamous, so male and female mating for life. That's the most cooperative bird we've had in a long time. Certainly more cooperative than the Ludwig's Bustards this morning, that's for sure. Just beautiful. See, if she happens to take off, you'll see these bright white window patches underneath the wing. So Darcy Ann is asking how many babies do they have at any one time. So generally, if something's this small, I'm just trying to see if I'll get you a better answer. But of course, that particular chat's not on that particular page. But I would probably say at most sort of 3, because that's what we saw, 2 at the nest the other day. 2 little chicks, so probably 2 to 3 in the nest at any one time. Beautiful, singing her morning song. Perfect. If any one of them has a little white shoulder patch, that's the male, but it isn't prevalent in all males. It can be inconspicuous. Morning. It's nice to hear their song. So the sort of the app about the egg says 2 to 7, but averaging about 3. Bernie has made a comment that these birds look like the black chat in the UK. I think that's what I heard, the black chat. They're often passed over because they're just black birds, not black chats, black birds. My apologies, Bernie. Black birds from the UK look similar to these ant-eating chats. So we were sort of averaging 3 eggs is what it says, and the egg weight 4 grams. How tiny is that? 4 grams. And they'll start after their last egg has been laid for also a period of about 2 weeks. And the female is the only one that will sit on the nest. And the chicks, however, are fed by both the adults, and sometimes they also have helpers, which are chicks from the previous brood that haven't really learnt how to be adults yet. So they're kind of getting parenting skills by helping raise their little brother and sisters. Nice to watch that little behavior. So the chats typically flick their tail and flick their wings, and Julia is agreeing with me that it is a beautiful sound. The chat with the flicking the tail is one of the chat behaviors that you would look at when you're trying to identify birds, and then flicking their wings sort of up and down. I haven't seen a wing flick yet, but the tail up and down is one of the behavioral signs that you can use to identify a chat. Sorry about that. They're also just facing the sun, like they're warming themselves up a little bit as well. Being a darker bird, that's always a challenge, is dealing with the heat, is because you'll have to you absorb a lot of the heat. So, Darby, I've got an eland bean here. I don't know if you can come. So, anti-teen chats, we're going to leave them sitting up there, but I was talking about an eland bean when we were driving earlier. So now I can show you. I mean, relative to my hand, that's quite a large seed pod. This is the eland bean, and I'm going to open up here because there is a beautiful flower down at the bottom there, with a couple of little beetles on the flowers. One of them scuttled off. So they don't. You smell them more at night than you smell them during the day, but that's the aromatic ones. Generally, if they smell, they're trying to attract all sorts of insects. So just leave it there. But that's. You can hear that. That's quite a solid pod. So I always like to cut things open. Let's have a look. Let's have a look inside. Try not to cut my fingers, but you can see there. I'm trying to get one seed out. So the way that a seed pod like this is designed is like a fleshy outer coat. And that's designed to dry out, and only when it's ready, we have a bean of the eland bean. There we go. So I'll hold it still, but so it's designed to dry out completely, so it goes almost brown, and then that edge will split, and then it will open, and then these seeds would be available and then sort of fall onto the ground. So you can actually see, if I pull that off, you can actually see the attachments down at the bottom for this eland bean. Not the most palatable. This is another one of those ones that's not palatable to any animals, so they tend to leave it alone. So maybe those seeds will make it if I put them there. Pretty. Just to hear all the sounds this morning. We've made it a lot closer to the mountains. We probably move on a little bit and see if we can get to one of our water holes to see if there is something there. So stick with us. We're going to drive. I've just got to get rid of everything off my seat here. We'll drive through the eland beans and blackthorn thickets and open plains and see what we've got. The anti-team chat's just flown away now, sorry. It's because I started the car and we've been here for a while. Let's see. I've got to be a bit like a meerkat now, so I've got to sort of look left and right and see if I can see anything. Luckily, Darby's got a vantage point, so if we see nothing, it's all going to be Darby's fault, because I'm much lower down here in this seat. Honeybee, you've asked a very interesting question. How do underground dens not get flooded in the rain? So the Kalahari, the animals are really, really lucky because it's very, very loose soil. So the water runs quite quickly through the soil. But down there, you can imagine that sort of would be a little bit of a river. But most animals will actually build some kind of a shelf inside the burrow. So they almost go down and then go up again to build a shelf. But fortunately here, the soil drains away, the water drains through the soil relatively quickly, so that would allow them to be fine. And there's actually a lot of animals that use burrows in the world. What? Oh, you see something, Darby? I'm just, let's see, there's some more of these. Oh, no. Just these beautiful, beautiful open. I just saw another hole there, probably another porcupine that lives down that side. So these nests are quite interesting here because you can actually see. I'm just going to do that so the aerial's out the way. So nests of the white-browed sparrow weaver. And they've done lots of research here at Tswalu on the white-browed sparrow weaver. And one of the things that they found is, we always talk about location. In some areas, the birds will specifically put their nests on the side of the tree where it's going to get the nice angle of the sun. And they did lots of research, and the dominant decision that makes where the white-browed sparrow weavers put their nest is based on the wind. They always put it on the leeward side of the tree. So here, the majority of the nests that we're seeing, obviously there's always going to be exceptions, but the majority of the nests of the white-browed sparrow weaver that we see are on the southern side of the tree. And if you think about the heat of the Kalahari, the sun in the day would be quite beating. It would be north of us. It would sort of be across the northern horizon. So that would also give the nest a little bit more shade or be a little bit cooler. So by being on the southern side of the tree, it is a lot smarter. And they'll also have two different kinds of nests, and the whole colony helps sort of building the nests, but there's nests that are built in like a U shape with two entrances, and one's the emergency exit, and then there is another hole which is the breeding hole. But yeah, we'll move on from here.
Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic WildEarth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature.
My name is Taylor McCurdy, and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced, and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
WildEarth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special WildEarth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes WildEarth experience at the magnificent andBeyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a WildEarth explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
What makes andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve so special is our massive array of habitats. And with that comes, of course, a beautiful diversity of landscapes, but also an incredible biodiversity in terms of plants, bird life and animal life, as well as, of course, our conservation success stories with cheetah, with rhinos, now with pangolins too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Hello again. Apologies about that. I don't even have my pedal. No, I don't have my foot on the pedal. We're driving very slowly. I was sitting on top of a termite mound waiting for you all for about 10 minutes. I got rather wet, but I think we're having some technical issues due to the weather. So I'll take my hood down so you can at least see me. And going back to termites, I didn't quite finish my story. So once the king and queen do their, well, future king and queen do their little mating dance, they have a courtship dance, they then mate, and they are the king and queen. But then they've got to find a place, they've got to burrow underground and start their colony, and it's not an easy job. They've got to get workers, they've got to get soldiers. Soldiers protect, they're the ones with the really big head and really strong mandibles for defense. They can't actually feed themselves. The workers feed them. The workers do all the other work. They maintain, they build. If a little bit of the mound starts to fall down or crack or they're damaged, they'll work. They also carry the queen's eggs once she lays them and take them to another cell. They also feed the queen. Now the queen, she doesn't do much. She doesn't move. She's almost like a huge fat jelly worm-like bag of adiposity. Yes, she never stops growing. So you see this dainty little queen with wings, and she's beautiful and she's graceful and she flies, and then she grows and she grows and she grows and she grows, and she does not stop growing. But the king, he doesn't leave her side. What a loyal man. He doesn't do very much either. He stays by her side, but he's not doing any of the work. It's all the queen. She'll lay endless streams of eggs, and she lives the longest. She can live up to 45 years. All the others only live 2 or 3 years. And basically, she just produces and produces. She is the mother, I can see the vehicle, Simon. She is the mother of all of the rest. There's a vehicle ahead, so we're just going to go round them, of all of the colony. She's a one mother. She never stops growing, so she actually outgrows her cell, the royal cell. She gets so big that she outgrows it, and the workers, they have to move her, or they have to build her a new cell, and that's not an easy job for a very large, fat queen. They have to ensure that they build somewhere that she can fit into. And the colony just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going from one mother. And with a termite colony, it's all about the collective. There's no individuality. There's nothing about being a sole individual as in other creatures. In other creatures, like a leopard, it's all about themselves. It's all about their bloodline and ensuring their survival, selfishness. In termites, it's all about the collective. It's all about the colony. It's not individualism, it's not about themselves. They all work 24 hours a day for the colony life. Big thriving cities in the mounds. I'm just gonna go past this vehicle. And that's the life of a termite, and it's incredible. And why I mention this is because termites, hello, are the backbone of any ecosystem. You cannot remove termites from the ecosystem. You can't actually separate them. Termites and the ecosystem, they come as one. It's fundamental out here, and they tend to be so overlooked. The mounds tend to be overlooked, but they're vital. Termites are very much part of the ecosystem. They are the backbone of the ecosystem, in fact. Megan, you are right. They do, and that's why I'm so desperate to show you termites in action. I'm desperate to show you them, but unfortunately they're still underground. And one thing I forgot to mention, those big mounds that you see, those structures, those termitaries, it's not the home. That's like their city, that's their functioning unit. They actually live in a nest under the mound. And the nest has lots of little galleries and tunnels, and it's also very elaborate. But that's where they live, that's where they stay. They don't actually live in the mound itself. Sorry, Gwen, I didn't get that. I've definitely got water in my earpiece now. The mound is just their city, it's their thriving area where they function and they do all their jobs and they work all day, but it's not a home. So as soon as I get the chance to see termites for you, we'll absolutely put them on because they're so wonderful. We're driving into the rain, which is really not pleasant. I'm not doing very well at finding animals, which is why I'm talking about termites. When it's warm enough, you will see them. You will see them pop out, and we'll spend as much time with the termites as possible. Okay, so as I drive into the rain and get even soggier, we're going to send you to Deirdre, who has a beautiful flower.
We're going to do a reveal. Ta-da! Look how beautiful that is. I think it was Paul earlier that was asking some beautiful flowers, and that's definitely one of them. We call this one a ground lily or a saw-eye lily. Just absolutely stunning. And there's the beetle just came in there to get some nectar, but they're easy to recognize when the leaves come out because they come out in this like flat across the surface, green to start, and then as they produce the flower, they need some of that energy to produce the flower. It is normal for them to start almost getting the edges of the leaves burnt, but a really, really beautiful flower. And also used by the Bushman, the same concept as the previous one, that Bushman poison bulb, also has a bulb underneath the ground with lots of sort of flaky layers on the outside, and that flaky layering, the papery would also be used to help heal wounds. So a really, really pretty flower, a ground lily. But then I have seen another one just out here. It's already past flowering, as these two over here. It's a albuca, but it's called a bushveld tinkering chi. And this one has already gone from flower. It's made the seed, and this is what you would call a trilocular ovary. So tri meaning three, locule meaning little cavities or locules. And there's already insects. I'm just trying to see. Some have already eaten into one or two of those to get the seeds out. So this would have been the flower. So Darby's got the flower there on the car to show you, because we can't show you the flower. It normally makes a really pretty, beautiful, like a green and white flower. Bernie says he's loving all the different plants and flowers at Tswalu. We are really, really lucky, but when they're flowering like this, how can we not stop? I wanted to also point out to you, you can look at how long the tubes are on these flowers. Sometimes you'll have, there's a nectar reward really, really low down, and the only way that these give the nectar reward away is if they're pollinated by something like a hawk moth. If you unrolled the hawk moth proboscis, it would have about 10 centimeters, so long enough to get the tube all the way down to the bottom to suck up the nectar. And then you always have some cheats that will just drill a hole in at the bottom and steal the nectar right from the base of the flower. Just stunning. Look at that. Oh, and there's a beetle that's just come in there. So we're pretty much at the end of Drive. We're going to say thank you very much for joining us. Some of you had to miss out on those that were stuck needing umbrellas in the rain, but glad we all managed to get back to you. And we'll see you on Afternoon Drive this afternoon, 4 o'clock Central African time.